What has blue got to do with today?
It's one of the channel's main colors.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well. The mother tongue thing. What are your thoughts about it, about learning in your mother tongue from the very first stage of your life, from creche?
Okay, I saw this video about some months ago of grandmothers in Asia, I'm not sure whether it's China or Japan, learning coding. Guess what? In Mandarin.
Yes.
Learning to code computers. Grandmothers. Now English will use stop there.
Because we have a peculiar situation in this country. There is Japanese. There's Japan, Japanese. There's China, Chinese. There's Germany, German. There's France, French. Like they used to ask us when we were in France studying French, 3 of us, one Igbo girl, myself, and a Yoruba girl. Why do you all always communicate in English? We say, because there's nothing like Nigerian. There's no Nigerian. So that's a peculiar issue with us. Well, and this thing is going to pose several problems, especially in areas where there are many minorities who have their own language.
Well, the Minister of Education spoke to that in a way. He said, you know, a good way to begin with that would be to look at the dominant language in that community. Not, according to him, we have something in the region of 625 languages in Nigeria. So we can't teach everyone in 625 languages.
Okay.
So what's the dominant, should I say dialect in that particular community? Because I don't know if I, as a Yoruba man, can understand the language of the people in Ekiti. That's me. And Ekiti people are also Yoruba people.
True.
So I don't know. That's, and I'm speaking for me.
Yeah, but there is a basic Yoruba that is taught. Yes.
Exactly. So what's the assurance I have that the grandmother or even the little ones, the grandchildren of some grandmother in any community in Ekiti, for instance, will understand basic Yoruba? So I think that's, I don't know, I'm just saying, postulating. So according to the minister, it is something that needs to be done and it's work in progress. It is now a thing, it's a policy of government, something that has to be done. Execution, that's where the issue is. Guess what?
The devil is in the detail.
Guess what? In a bit of a research that, you know, I did trying to understand this whole thing, this policy dates back as far back as 1984.
So how come we have so many children who only speak English?
And it's an ongoing conversation. So it is, as you said, the devil is in the detail.
Go to Sapele, for instance. Urobo is spoken. Shekiri is spoken. Which one are you going to teach in?
So I think those are
the same thing in Wari.
Exactly.
In fact, Wari is even more complex. Robo is spoken, Shekiri is spoken, some Ijo dialects are spoken. So what language are you going to choose as a language of instruction?
Wafi.
Well, we have to wait and see how this plays out, right?
Wafi.
Trust Wafi now. Trust, we must complicate everything.
So that's one thing. That's one thing, and that's just for Southwest. That's just for, you know, South. And South has so many languages on its own.
And how about up there?
Up north,
where we all think Hausa.
Yeah.
Oh no, they're not all Hausa.
Hausa, Nupe, Fulani.
Fulfude.
So we wait for the minister because he said, look, it's in the details, how we're going to, what's the dominant language in the, is it language or dialect that I'm going to say now? In the community, that's how it's going to, I guess we'll wait to see. But it's something that needs to be done if we are to develop as a people educationally.
Something that caught my mind in the course of the week. Troops dismantle 81 illegal refineries, arrest 81 oil thieves. And I thought, my comment was in my mind, really? 81 illegal refineries? Are they the ones that you want? These are the small fry. Those who are building pipelines, those are the ones you need to start with.
How will you know if you don't catch these ones?
These ones will tell you, are they the ones taking oil from pipeline?
No, because they never experience her. I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
These
Answer
are the
question.
ones who are going to buy small crude from here and
They will
there.
answer the question, whether easily or difficultly.
Or difficultly.
But at least let's say, for instance, that it's a start. How far this will go and translates to what you're talking about, I think it's important to see. Well, you know, we've engaged, people from time to time who say, look, this is something that needs to be done. Okay, fine, we'll wait.
Okay, remember when I came back from my holiday and the first question I asked you was, have they caught the big oil thieves, the ones who are building pipelines and taking our crude in vessels out of this country?
You wouldn't have to need to find out. It will be a major headline.
These are the ones who are refining small. We need those who are carrying our crude oil inside vessels. Those vessels are taking millions of barrels of crude oil.
We'll wait to see. And if the conversation we had with Dokubo Asari is anything to go by, there's a lot more playing out.
Yes,
he said, and
indeed.
I quote, well, not in specific words, that it takes about a month to load up a super tanker. Yeah. 1 month. Yeah. So government don't know.
Nobody know.
The DSS know. Officials of government are not aware.
I beg, Cameroon beat Brazil yesterday. I don't follow football, but I followed that one.
I'll be happy for them to go quite far, but my fear, anything that I'm going to connect emotionally with, I will connect emotionally with Cameroon. Playing with Brazil, nah, I beg. That's why I have this thing where I'll check my BP. In the interest of peace and stability, I can't shout.
Too scared to watch. Too scared to watch.
One other thing that's caught my own eye is the comment by the president about governors, the word he used, pocketing local government funds. And of course... and
Governor Wike, President, you know who they are. Name them.
No.
Me, I not thief government money. I not thief local government money.
Governor Tom said exactly the same.
Because I was local government chairman myself and nobody stole my money.
Governor Tom said the same thing. So I think it behoves on the governors themselves or the NGF to come out and say it's not true. Let them disprove the president. Because if that was...
And then the president will be forced to name names.
Trust now. Even if the president doesn't do it, the presidency
will name names.
Do it. So if local government funds had been deployed as they ought to have been deployed, will what is happening in Chibok now have happened in the first place? Where those girls, I mean, it's very heart-wrenching the thing that is going on in that community.
Yes, from that report that we saw.
From Emperor Simon's findings, and we just need to let people know what is happening in these communities. No one knows what Chibok was like before, immediately after, and now. And how comfortable are the people living in Chibok now? What kind of lifestyle are those young ladies, girls, who have become ladies overnight and women overnight?
And what improvements have been made to schools around Chibok to make sure that what happened in 2014 does not repeat itself? Has there been any improvement? We don't know anything about that area.
The population of those young ladies have increased. Many of them have children now.
Sadly.
According to our correspondent, one of them has at least 4.
4 children, yes.
At age 24, yes. For God's sake.
Well, watching that report, I mean, my heart was just... And as a mother, when you see those children and your heart just goes out to them and you say, so what kind of lives are they going to live now that they have been rescued or they've been able to run away or whatever, with that Boko Haram image still looming large in their brains?
We need to change their environment or their location completely. Let there be nothing that will remind them of poverty, of deprivation, of anything. Right now, I don't know if any one of them is feeling quite satisfied with what government, and I mean government, whether it's federal government, state government, local government, I don't know if they are satisfied with what is happening to them right this moment. So is government satisfied? You're going to blame funding? Fine.
What kind of psychological evaluation are they getting so that they can, come back into society and live normal lives from here on in?
I pray that governors themselves, the NGF, perhaps will just come out and say, look, let's support our own. This thing happened in a state. It happened in
a
state,
local government.
In a local government belonging, that is governed by one particular governor. If one governor is unable to do it, can we have a collaboration of governors maybe in the region or even in the entire country and saying, let's support these ones. We need to move them out of that place. It's important. Otherwise, I don't see how their lives can be any better, psychosocially.
Bon, bref. We're going to start the program by looking at this new policy. Well, you say it's not new. Mother tongue.
Well, let's just say it's the first time we're actually having it as a thing.
And we're actually having a conversation about it, so that our children, our languages will not die.
Well, there are a number of them on the extinction level now, but I guess we'll talk about that later. Our second topic will be a focus on Sir Emeka Okwosa Foundation. Find out what that is about.
We Niger Literary Contest. What's that?
Again, you wait. Unusual Praise 2022. That's also on the lineup. And
on our lifestyle segment today, we're going to be looking at blood care. You need to look after your blood. Okay, all right.
And you find out something one very unique thing about that one. Blood care. What is it?
That you need to do.
It will be shocking. And then the artist of the week is also coming next. You see, we have quite a lineup. So we're just going to fly through it, right?
So get your cocoa or your...
Or your cocoa. Me, I've had cocoa this morning.
Oh.
With a touch of honey.
Oh.
Sorry.
We stand.
That's from the first national anthem, not this current one.
People are singing more often these days.
Oh, really?
And I wonder why. I was at an event the other day and somebody said, let us sing the national anthem. I mean the old one.
Who?
Yes. And I'm wondering why. Is it that it's making more meaning to us now than it was then, or
and
what?
I suspect that whoever said that in that at that public event must have been an elderly person.
No, it was the young MC.
It's a lie.
Who wasn't even born when we were singing that national anthem. And he wanted to hear it. And he said, listen to the words of that anthem.
Well, I guess that line just...
That's the part that we're going to be talking about this morning. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand.
But they do differ.
Yes.
625 ways.
All 625 of them. Yes, and instruction has always been in English in this country, which sometimes can be embarrassing. You're at a gathering, especially when you're abroad, and you're all gathered together and you're speaking in English, and everybody else is speaking their language, so to speak. The Germans are going away, and the Japanese are, and you are all speaking English, and they're looking at you and wondering, don't these ones have a language?
Yes, we do.
Well, the thing is that we have 625. So which one are we going to choose? So let's start with the meaning of mother tongue. Mother tongue is the language that the child comes into contact with, the first language that a child comes into contact with in life. It is through the mother tongue that the child establishes relationship with the immediate environment. It serves as a channel through which societal norms, values, and aspirations are transmitted to the younger ones. The Nigerian government recently approved a new national language policy that will mandate the use of local languages as a language of instruction for primary school pupils. That, to me, means that every Nigerian child will speak a Nigerian language. That is the bottom line for me. I am not an educationist. We have two of them in the studio with us this morning to look at this policy with us, and it's my pleasure to welcome Adedolapo Osuntuyi, who is a child and education advocate. Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
We also have Okeyinfu Ajayi,
Yes.
also an educationist. Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
First of all, let me ask you, so what language is it going to be at home?
I know, right? Because I'm from
both.
Edo State, and my husband is Yoruba.
So what's the
What language do your children speak now?
English. I'm sorry to say, but
I guess that's safe.
yes.
So you don't get like, oh, you taught your children.
Oh, I get it all the time.
What's your language?
It's Igara. So I'm from Igara, in Akoko Edo, yes.
You taught your children Igara,
Igara.
and they don't understand Yoruba.
Yoruba.
And I'm the man of the house. So you're not going to have that kind of problem, are you? So it's just safe to
Mother
keep them
tongue,
speaking.
fatherland.
What about you, ma'am?
Yeah.
They speak English.
I speak English, I speak Yoruba.
What about the children?
They started with English, but we are trying to infuse the Yoruba
Try.
language.
Yeah.
it's a good one. My children by age 3 were already speaking proverbs
In Yoruba.
Wow.
Thanks to grandma.
Oh, okay.
I have to add that one.
So what are your thoughts about this policy? What do you think it's designed to achieve?
Well, looking at what they're trying to achieve is that from the position of the government, they feel is in the interest of the national unity for the children to learn their mother tongue languages, yeah. But it's really going to cause a lot of confusion, even for the children themselves. Because as of last week, I was still in a classroom setting, and the children were writing a Yoruba language examination, and the Igbos and the Hausas, they could not write it. So the teacher even came out, was reading the question. They could not still write it. And it's unfair, because these children will feel left out, as if the one they are speaking is much more better than theirs.
Okay.
But doesn't that, sorry, I don't know. Isn't that a question mark on the kind of teaching that they got for that subject? Because, I mean, I assume that maybe at least they would have learned that kind of language, for instance, for about 3 months before they would sit down to write the exam. What do you think?
Well, another thing there is that how skilled is the teacher teaching them this? Imagine, because like what the policy said, public schools. These public schools we are talking about dominantly have large class sizes. I've been to a class of 200 children in a class.
Oh, God.
I can take you there, it's not far from where. I've been to a class of 200 children.
In one class?
Yeah.
Yes.
Primary
How
or
do you
secondary?
teach 200 children in one classroom?
Primary.
That should not be allowed.
Primary.
Public school?
Yes. So imagine they don't have enough.
I'm sorry. What, did they bring all students together for one class, or that's just their norm on a daily?
That's just the norm, and I think she can agree to that too.
Absolutely.
That's just the norm. They don't have enough tables and chairs. They're just sitting down, trying to squeeze themselves, maybe on a chair, and they don't have enough books. And probably they even came to school maybe just not well kitted for school. And the teacher is shouting. As a matter of fact, last week I just went there and stop making noise. Even the time I use in announcing stop making noise is already eating into the lecture time.
Yes.
So you can imagine the teacher is not well trained for this.
The teacher is already overwhelmed.
He's already overwhelmed.
Okay, madam, let me come to you, Mrs. Ajayi. First of all, to my colleague's question, what's your take on that policy?
So I look at it in 2 ways, right? The first is the preservation of our culture, and that's a good thing. The second is the fact that we need to look at the learning part of it. What is the benefit? Again, that's a good thing, because research does show that MTI, which is mother tongue instruction, is great. So it is good for the children. Now, the major question is, what is the government trying to achieve with that? So the government From that policy statement, what they're trying to achieve is preservation of our culture. Yes, our heritage, because there's extinction of some of our local languages. So if we want to just, off the top of my head and just looking at our policy, that's what the government is trying to achieve with that. But we need to look at it from those two prongs, how beneficial, and then of course the implementation part of it. So let me stop for now.
I listened to the minister when he was announcing this thing, and he emphasized that in other climes, for instance, physics is taught in their languages. So who are those who are going to write us the physics books in Hausa and the physics books in Shekiri? Hausa is an established language. It's already, in
Igara, please add my language.
In Igara, yes. In Urobo. Who are those who are going to write all those textbooks for us? Yeah. Have we looked at this thing that far?
I don't think so. I would say no. So in implementation, right, there needs to be a roadmap. And I do not even think that we have the so I'm a very data-driven person, and it's very important that we look at the data. What communities are we looking at, right? So for any policy, there needs to be a procedure to it. I do not, first of all, see the procedure. I heard the policy. There's no procedure. Your procedure is the way that policy is implementable.
I think that's actually where the minister stopped short, because he also seems to be at, but look, this is not something that has to be done. The how, which is the implementation. I think that's what's important. But you've also spoken, sorry,
I think that's why we're having this conversation as well, to give them some ideas as to how to implement it.
Because, perhaps, maybe we should start with the infrastructure around it. Soft infrastructure and hard infrastructure that are going to be needed for this. In terms of soft infrastructure, what are the things, soft or hard infrastructure, what are the things that you think, if government is going to look at this, because I'm pretty sure it's not something they just slept and woke up in 2-3 months and say, okay, let's get this done.
They've been thinking about
this, and from research, it's also obvious that we've been talking about this for well over 4 decades. Now, in terms of infrastructure, what are the things that you would say, we need to do this, and then we need to do this so that this can happen?
So you said two things that are very important, and I would like clarity, just so that we're speaking on the same page. You said soft infrastructure and hard infrastructure. What exactly do you mean?
You spoke about, she spoke about capacity the other time.
Yes, okay, so that's on the soft infrastructure. Okay, fine. I just wanted to be sure about that. So in terms of soft infrastructure, we need to first of all go back to our colleges of education. Because that's where our teachers are coming from, right? We need to
prepare the teachers first.
Yes, if not, it's I'm sorry to use this word.
Prepare the books they're going to use to teach.
So that would be hard infrastructure. Because the publishers, for example, publish in English. So where is the financial outlay for them to begin to break it up into different languages in the community?
And then we need to select the languages.
We need to, first of all, even define what we mean by national language within a community. So, so already, which my colleague alluded to, we have an access problem because we do not have sufficient infrastructure. Let me just draw a picture. In Lagos State, for example, we have quite a number of public schools, but not every community has a public school. So sometimes you would have some children moving about 20 minutes to get to school. Research says if a child has to move 20 minutes to get to school, learning and even their want to go to school is depreciated by about 50-something%. So that already is problematic, right? And then now we're saying my community, so in Lagos State, for example, you have different ethnicities and different dialects within a community. So which one becomes the dominant one? So we need to have that definition. When we have then had that definition, we need to then ensure that the homes, I teach my children learn in school, but guess what? They come back home, and I need to do some work with them as well. And so if there's no form
that's the dilemma of every parent.
Look,
mother tongue.
What is it?
When she was talking just now, another thing just crossed my mind. Okay, so she's Edo, her husband is Yoruba. You are Yoruba.
I'm Yoruba. I'm from Ekiti. My husband is from Ondo. And don't let us forget that Ondo, based on what I heard, different streets with different languages. So how many languages are we talking about?
You know, I said it. No. Of all the languages, so what did I say?
I haven't even landed yet, and you're already taking me somewhere entirely. I haven't even landed yet, because what I was going to say, okay, look, I'm Shekiri.
Okay.
Married a Shekiri man. I have a neighbor who is Urobo, but we all live in Lagos, and our children are going to go to school in Lagos. So in what language will the children be taught?
I know.
She sighs.
Okay, now, let me...
You don't know.
Alero, she just gave you an example. In Edo, in Ondo State, maybe there are 50 languages.
Yeah.
In Ondo State, one state. So which one will be the dominant?
Oh,
so I don't know if you can teach them in Ondo with Yoruba or Ibadan or your Ibadan Yoruba.
Well, with the...
Just for example.
With the Yoruba that we know, the one that is normally written.
No, I don't think that
should
will
be
happen.
the language of instruction.
Should be, but I don't think that will happen. I don't know. I don't know if you can speak to...
Then I
no, but the thing is, we just want those children to speak the language.
Okay.
We don't care whether it's a dialect or do we? They speak a Nigerian language. That's the most important thing.
It is.
I mean, I would assume.
Well, you are right. But then we're talking about the implementation. You started this conversation around the soft infrastructure the other time, training the teachers, training the trainers of these children. In what direction do you think government will be looking at? Because in my head, when I saw the national language policy, it tells me covertly there has to be some adjustment to the national education policy.
Absolutely.
So what do you see happening in that regard?
Well, shall I say, I'm not too sure how to answer, because why I said so is that they came up with this national language policy now, but I don't think they've actually even thought it through. Because number one, like what she said, I'm going to pick from where she stopped. Aside the instructional material that they have to spend time developing, the syllabus, you know, and even when it comes to even the teacher writing the lesson plan, that means it has to be in the language. And I think working with many schools, I know looking for language teacher is a big deal.
It is. We
don't have enough language teacher. So now it goes back to our colleges of education, our universities too. How many children, how many youth are willing to say, I'm going to school to study Yoruba or Hausa? Even...
What Dele Momodu did?
That was how many eons ago?
even my friends, you know, when we are talking, oh, I'm studying medicine, it's more or less like, you know, you're showing off what you're studying. We don't have people say, oh, I'm studying Yoruba. I can count. When I was in uni, I can't remember anybody telling me they study Yoruba. So it's already, you know, it's like, it's a structural thing that we need to sit down and come up with a procedure to know, oh, okay, we're going to start with inviting even the lecturers, the teachers of universities, whether in polytechnic, they have to be on the table discussing with the government, not them coming up with a policy in silo, leaving the real people working in the grassroots out of it.
But Dolakwa, don't you think that this will change as time goes on? Because they will know that there is employment for them. Right now, they're not studying Yoruba because what am I going to do with it?
I know you have a point on that, but really, I'm trying to figure out for how long I've been reading this in news. After this government now, when another government comes in, is there going to be a continuity?
The policy may
that
change.
Thing I've started is well dated back to as far as 1984. How come we are still coming up with the issue, the same thing that is in the report, that is the same thing that is coming up again?
Okay, madam, you spoke about...
Don't you think that this is one of the things that just has to stay? Because we all stand to benefit from it. We can't afford to lose our languages. That is not on. Because 100%. English cannot be our mother tongue.
100%. I do agree that it is not a bad thing, to be honest, right? Because, so let me use my niece as an example. My niece is, so my brother married somebody from Urobo, you know, and he only speaks my language to her. only, and her mom speaks English. She's very strong. Her thinking is she's amazing. So it's good. Mother tongue interference instruction is great. The how of it is what we need to look at. It then means that in the universities, when you're teaching or studying education, you're going to have to recreate those materials. The lecturers would have to teach in specific languages as well. Because the way education is a very social type of learning. The way my teacher teaches me is the way I sort of go into the classroom and teach like that.
And it makes you want to study
because
that subject.
it's a model. I'm seeing my teacher's model and I'm like, okay, so when I then go into the classroom, this is how I need to teach. So it is great, to be honest, because the language is bad. My children are on YouTube learning how to speak Yoruba, learning how to speak Igara, because somebody has developed those instructions there. But before we jump into this, I would say, can we sort of run a pilot? Can we say, oh, from nursery school into the primary school, can we begin to say, let us introduce this as clubs and make these clubs mandatory?
So essentially you're saying we need to, I should use the word, catch them young. Now, we'll get to that, and I hope we still have enough time. But you spoke about data the other time, and I'm very curious. 625 local languages minimum, according to the Minister of Education, at the federal level. We don't know what the commissioners of each state will come up with, what numbers they are going to give. So in terms of selecting, in terms of going through this process, there are at least 3 categories of communities in every state. Urban communities, suburban communities, rural communities.
That's right.
If we are to use data or some kind of sifting, methods, how would you suggest that government looks at selecting the instructional languages? Because I know it's a tough call.
It is.
And
I don't want to shoot myself in the foot.
Don't we'll wear bulletproof for you.
So, I would say that in every community, there is a dominant language. There always is a dominant language. And typically, it would be, if you look at the ballet, so let me use the Lagos State example. If you can look at the ballet of certain communities, the language that they speak typically is the dominant language and the dialect in that community. So perhaps we can start with that, right? Because it then means that within that community, because more people are speaking that way, the other people sort of integrate that language into their understanding so that they can, relate.
Communicate.
Relate properly. So that would be the way that I would say perhaps government begins to look at it, but then it needs to go down into those grassroots and say, what are these communities? Who are the ballets? What are the dominant languages? Can we then begin to create sort of a structure around these things? But yeah, it's like scrambled eggs right now, but,
Do you see because fearfully, I say this fearfully, there are very few things in our country as of today that are not politicized, so to speak.
Yeah.
How do you see us circumventing that in a way that one ballet or community leader, as you put it, is not influenced to go against himself or herself?
Yeah. So that's a tough one, to be honest, which is why, again, it goes down to the structure of things, right? Beyond just the ballet, there are local government champions within every community, so we're then going to have to look at it. It's almost like back then when we said, when the communal masters came and they were like, how are things happening in the East, what exists currently, and then sort of build on the structure that what exists, right? So in terms of politicizing things, there's always the fear of that. This policy came from the FEC level. I don't understand how that happened, but we're not going to go there. So there's always that sort of political inclination to things, but with sufficient stakeholder engagement, with sufficient policy, stakeholder education, then we might be able to manage, the sort of politicizing that we might begin to see.
But go on.
Let me stay with you. I'm thinking this way ahead of probably those who made this policy are thinking, because I'm thinking about the WAEC exam, for instance. How do you see that playing out?
So
I'm even trying to trying to translate Boyle's law in my head.
So they did mention that
chemistry,
from secondary school,
chemistry is going to be in different languages.
It's going to switch. No, so they did mention that it's going to switch in secondary school
to English.
So that sort of answers that question. So the one that would be a little shaky is the common entrance examinations
Yeah.
into the model colleges. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Well, of course, we're to assume that while they're learning in these languages, instruction is also being given to them in English, so that their English also does not suffer. Because they're going to need that later.
yes.
It's interesting that
It's getting a bit confusing now.
well, because what you just said now reminds me of a classmate of mine when I was in, I think, Form 1 or Form 2. Yes, that's what we called it that time, not SS1, SS2. This guy, I don't know, I don't remember the class. When he was going to, he's a Yoruba boy, when he was going to call silver, he said Silifa. But okay, so madam, I just wanted to, and it's in Oyo town. Yes, I'm from Oyo State. So, madam, I want to ask you two things in one.
Okay.
One, how will these children receive these? Let's begin with that. How do you see children receiving, this policy themselves? Because at the end of the day, it's about them. And it sounds like government is literally, as Alero said, looking forward. So how will a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old who is already used to alpha blocks, number blocks, and all those games on technology, we'll come to the technology part later, how do you see them receiving instructions in ABD? Just using Yoruba.
ABD.
It's going to come.
Because for now, most of them are taught sounds,
Yeah.
not alphabets.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
So I'm going to start with this. I remember recently my daughter had to change her school because the school closed down. And that was at second term. So we just assumed she understood and she is going to another school. She should be excited about it. And she busted into tears. She said, "Mommy, I'm not ready for this."
At what age?
At what age was she?
9 years old.
Jesus.
Wow. Wow.
And when I started talking to other parents, one said the child fell sick for over a week, and she was like, "Is it over this changing of school?" To tell you that the identity, building the identity of a child also has a very pivotal role in, the environment, like the school
Yes.
system they are involved with. So you can imagine a child that comes up with excitement to write assignments, now coming home that I have to write it in Yoruba.
Or Hausa. Or Nupe.
Number one, it won't fascinate their desire to even want to learn what you're teaching them. Because even the one in English, you have to get extra help. Like maybe the ones that can afford getting extra lesson teacher to do that. How much more? And to be sincere, the first time I picked up, I think it was after I left, I was about entering uni that I realized there's actually a Yoruba past question. And when
maybe they won't start from age 9. Maybe the policy will begin from lower.
Yes.
Maybe it's for those who are just entering creche. Let's start the policy from 2020 whatever or 2030 whatever, and let's start from the bottom.
But what I read online says that it's going to be exclusively for the first 6 years. I mean, primary school. So
That's what I'm saying.
So now.
So she's gone past that already.
No. She's in primary 6 now, and by the time she gets to primary 6, she'll be 10.
2 years to go.
Yes. And then now, when we want to consider and she goes to a private school, now let's consider the public school. I have 9-year-old, I have 10, I have 17 in primary 4. Yes.
Yeah.
We have 17-year-old in primary 4.
17, she should be doing her A-levels already.
We have 17-year-old in primary 4. So even trying to interpret that to them is going to come as a shock. It will disturb their mental state, their psychological state. Yeah.
Madam, I want to ask about the technology part of it. I don't see how we can get past technology in this age and time. We can never anymore live our lives without technology. And clearly, the days of blackboards are gone. Now we have, do you call them magic boards?
Interactive.
Interactive, tablets, iPads, and all those things. we'll come back to infrastructure, right? How we will prepare the softwares, code in Igala language, in Igbo language, in Ikwere, in Shekiri, and all those languages and all. So, what challenges do you see, especially at a time when most of the time there are those who believe that government generally doesn't like to patronize Nigerian stuff. They would rather get them imported, but we don't have English, or rather Ikwere or Igala speaking Germans who prepare these apps and technology things for us.
So with artificial intelligence, there is that, I mean, if you go on your Google Maps these days, there's this voice, it's changed now, right? So with artificial intelligence, you know, we can sort of scale that hurdle slightly quicker than we would have a few years ago, because it's quite, it's great right now. So in terms of technology, that can be done. That's the hardware of technology. But in terms of then the teaching of the technology is then where we might have a problem, right? Because it means that I'm going to have to translate all of my instructional manuals into the different languages, and that could be problematic. Yeah, it could be problematic.
Is Osun State ahead in any way? Remember they had this thing called Okmo Imo.
Yeah.
When
knowledge tab.
Ogbeni was there.
So you do have, you know, so I'm not very familiar with what is happening in that particular one, but if that has happened, then that tells you that there are people who are already sort of
thinking in that direction.
Thinking in that direction, yes, and moving ahead with that. So in terms of that conversion, that hardware, it might not be it's a difficult thing to do, to be honest, right? It's then the instructional part of it that can.
So it goes back to the teachers, as
yes, it is. It does.
Madam mentioned earlier. It does. So how do we get, because clearly what we're seeing, the challenges that we have listed here so far are, one, selecting the languages, and you say it has to be data-driven.
Yeah, it has to.
In order to eliminate the political ambit of it. Number two, soft and hard infrastructure.
Yeah.
Now, let's speak to, I think she began the conversation around the colleges of education earlier. If government is to go around this, what are the things that, if you give government a checklist, that need to be considered now, if we're going to fast track this, and how long do you think it'll take?
So three things that I would, because there's several things, you know, but three things that I would say government needs to begin to look at is, where are the current colleges of education situated? We don't have quite a lot of them spread out, so we need to look at that, and we begin to then look within the communities that we need to run a pilot. You know, I don't think we should just jump in. Yeah, I think it will be wrong. So decide on where we want to run a pilot, decide, okay, so where are the colleges of education? If there's none in those indigenous communities, we need to, right? Because language is cultural. You know, it's not just speaking of it, they're the inflections. You know, so there's so much more involved in language, which the teachers need to understand those things. So they need to be domiciled sort of within the community so that they can sort of take that on. That's the first thing that needs to happen. The second thing is then to say, where are the public schools currently located? It then means that we need to look at infrastructure because of access. Because if we have a problem with access, then we already have failed at the beginning of this year. So that's the second thing that we need to begin to look at in terms of where are the schools located. The third thing that I would say is we need to look at the curriculum, which sort of follows from the teachers and what they're learning in the colleges of education. And an addendum to that is then the instructional materials. We need to begin to develop them now. So timeline, I would say they should look at, to be honest, maybe another 6 to 10 years. Yes, and just like you said, Madam, we cannot say we're going to implement it all across all the classes in secondary school. No, we need to say, okay, you know what, nursery 1, which is maybe our 3 to 4 year olds. Let's start with these coming in. Yes, and then we begin to grow that.
Push them up.
Yes, that's what I would say.
There is the National Teachers Institute, for instance. I mean, you both have spoken to College of Education and all those things. What should happen with teachers, especially the current one? Because if we're going to do anything extra, there are those who believe that you know what someone will do by what the person has done before. Given the way we have treated teachers as a nation, irrespective of what level, up until now, what would you propose?
I'm going to continue from where she stopped. Funding is very important. We can't, a government that wants to be successful with this kind of program cannot shy away from the funding aspect of it. And the funding, training, you know, because when you mentioned the National Teachers Institute, I'm currently running a program.
Okay.
You know, so, and it's also with the National Teachers Institute, I'm running a program. So, and funding, such that you make the course education look so exciting that everybody wants to associate with. To be sincere, before I decided, it took me 10 years to consider that I want to do a program in this line. And before, I would say I don't want to be a teacher. Because they're always portraying them to look as if, you know, they are just, I don't want to use the word, but...
Beggarly. Please.
You understand? And so...
Especially because now that you are in their space, you understand.
We're running completely out of time. I'm sorry, that's the nature of live television.
Yeah.
So I have to take your last word now.
Okay.
Your last word on this.
Wow. I would suggest...
Oh, looks like we've got some more time.
Oh, really? Okay. So,
Okay.
Yes, so go ahead.
I was going to ask you, you know, since you are in the space
Okay.
with the teachers now, it will seem, what would you propose? What's the current state now that government needs to really review? Because there is no government, no one government that can do this on its own. What would you suggest? What are the circumstances or conditions of learning for teachers that you feel need to be improved if this policy is to go anywhere?
Yeah, I mentioned funding the other time. I also mentioned the fact that, you know, teaching, it's really like all of us, we're on this stage today because we went through a school, we passed through a school. And right now, we have different people involving themselves in education, even though that's not their background. Some, like in the rural community, SSC, the person's already teaching, without even going through the normal route of, okay, you going through a college of education, we understand the rudiments of teaching. So I would say that they should build more structure around student youth going for courses like this. And even the teachers that are already trained, or let's say the past years, they should put a policy in place such that, I mean in the public sector now, I know Lagos State is really doing a lot, but can we speak of other states? When last, I know of teachers that have conversed in the last 1 month, when last did they even go for a training? And when you call them, there are times that even my organization will organize like a free training for teachers. I mean, even how many of them turn up for that? So there should be like a policy that will enforce them that it has to be part of your KPI, that you need to go more for this training. And I believe the more they go for trainings like this, the more they will have the capacity to want to express themselves. You can't give what you don't have. So that is very, very important. And the more they work on even the past modules that are being used in these schools, you know, make it more adaptable. It also spurs the interest of teachers to want to, you know, go deep in that. So I will not shy away when it comes to that teachers aspect, because
You are in this
Improved remuneration, wouldn't that also help?
Yeah, that's why I started with funding.
No, funding could be funding the sector.
Yes.
Okay.
And
So
be
she's
putting
saying
money into teaching the students, getting them all the equipment that they need, getting them the books that they need. That could be funding.
Yeah.
You need to specify.
Yeah.
Remuneration, pay the teachers better.
Yes.
the one other question comes to mind, madam. There are many parents today who are in their 30s. Why are you laughing? I've not even asked my question. She's already laughing. Who don't understand their local language? You knew that's where I was going.
Yeah.
So how do
Do
they
they
go about
speak it to their children?
Because children will always come back home with homework.
Yep.
And the mother does not understand her own mother tongue. And she has to instruct her children in this mother tongue with assignments and all of that. So you tell a 29 or 30-year-old teacher to translate Ojo Toro to Palapa Mole.
Wow.
Okay, sorry.
Wow.
So,
Oh dear.
so how do you see that happening? What's the role of parents in this?
To be honest, parenting is critical. There's research that says that a child that has two adults that are consistently that are consistent in their lives do better than a child who has just one. One being the teacher and the second being the parent. So parenting, we cannot take that out of the equation, right? And this is problematic, to be honest. And there are two dimensions to this, right? The first is that we have assumed with this question that the mother tongue is the one that the parents have. So that's the first one. I can import grandma. Maybe help out with that one. I mean, grandma supported you guys, right? Exactly. But then the second one is if that mother tongue is not even the indigenous one for the parents, but it's the one for the community. Now that is going to be problematic, right? So that's why instructional materials need to be developed before you can ever go into this. And there needs to be the parenting angle as well. So perhaps we parents too, we go back to school so that we can support our children.
YouTube is your friend.
YouTube.
Okay, Fu. You know, there are many geniuses born to stark illiterate parents.
Absolutely.
Yep.
How do you explain that? I mean, the child has received no help whatsoever from the parents because the parents don't even know. When she comes home or he from school and says A, B, C, what is that?
When even the parent does not understand ABD.
Thank you. So, how do you explain that?
It's something, to be honest, that is not, it's not explainable. It's something to do with the DNA of the child. It's something to do with their rapid brain development. So that's neurology, which is another field totally entirely.
It's not your field.
You know, no, it's not my field. But to be honest, it's not something that you can explain. But they're just certain neurons in the brain. Absolutely. It happens so... My 4-year-old nephew, for example, if you ask him 322,000 times 4, he goes like that and you're like, how did you do that? Even his mom is like,
I don't know.
This is not from me. So it does happen, but it's a phenomenon that it's difficult to explain. It's just something that is very well developed in the child. Sometimes, and I'm not saying that's the case all the time, we have high-performing Asperger's, but I mean, that's going again into neurology and special needs education, which is not the conversation that we're having today. But it is something that...
Will that not limit some children?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think that's the root of the question. Because if there is that, perhaps we also need to recognize, and you said this quite copiously, there is that mindset about local languages. They are vernacular. They are inferior.
No speaking of vernacular.
No speaking of vernacular. They are... Those local languages are inferior. You speak Yoruba, you are an under whatever it is in any community. So such a genius, for instance, now has to learn in local language as well. Do you see it as something limiting or something, I don't know, it's a lot of work, right?
Yeah, so I mean, just looking on the surface of it, I would say that there could be some limitations that you would find, because that means that it's almost like a child who left-handedness and right-handedness, right? And then the child is left-handed and then you're forcing them to use their right hand. So it's sort of those sort of things, because that limits the child's brain development because of the way it is, right? So there is the fear that this is a problem. So before we go into this, which is why there needs to be massive education, massive engagement, people need to understand the mindset and begin to change that mindset. For example, if you're on the bus, maybe outside of this country, you're hearing, like you mentioned, the Germans are speaking Germany quite loudly and they don't care. The Chinese are doing the same thing, but then we're speaking Yoruba and we're like, let's say it small. Why? So it is a mindset thing. It is, again, we would say maybe colonial mentality of the fact that it is vernacular. It's beneath you. Why are you talking like this?
When in fact, English is the vernacular.
Yeah.
Come.
Well, time has run out this time, and for real this time. So let me take your last word, okay?
Context. Context is my last word. We can't do things in silos. We must say what is the context within which we want to implement. If we look at the right context and we bring it in, we will succeed at this. So context.
Yeah, I know the idea the government is trying to do is to catch them young, and that's why they're starting with the primary school. So I feel, just like what she said, we should start from the elementary stage.
Pre-primary school.
Yeah, pre-primary, yeah. Just to inspire them and get them motivated to want to take it up.
Very interesting conversation. Thank you very much for coming. Okeyinfo Ajayi, an educationist, and Adedolakbo Osuntui, child and education advocate. Thank you very much for coming to have this very, very, very interesting conversation with us this morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for staying with us at home. We'll be right back with another interesting conversation. Do make sure you join us.
Well, thank you so much for staying with us. As you can see, that's the next conversation we're having, the Sir Emeka Okwuosa Foundation, and of course, joining us to have that conversation on all the questions that you want to ask: who, what, where, when, why, and how. Yes, those are the questions in journalism. Engineer Emeka Okwuosa, CON, joins us. He's chairman, Oilserve Group. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning, and then thank you once more for inviting me and having me on your program.
Yeah, a quick question there. What's the foundation about? Perhaps that background would help some people to understand what's going on, and just exactly since when has this been a thing?
Of course, so Emeka Okwuosa Foundation, which is a foundation that was set up basically by me and my organization. When I talk organization, probably you're aware that I run a group of companies by name of Oilserve Group in the oil and gas industry. We set up this foundation to be able to basically help impact positively on the lives of Nigerians and be able to give back to them. And that is the basic principle and mission of the foundation.
Now, I see that one of the things that you are doing this time around, and been doing that for over 22 people already in this year, is providing free heart surgery. What commands this decision to focus on cardiac issues?
Before I get deep into this question, I will first of all say, obviously, we are involved in quite a wide-ranging set of activities, in education, in provision of infrastructure. And when I talk of infrastructure, I'm talking of road, I'm talking of drains where there are issues with erosion, trying to help the communities, as well as provision of water. In addition, we have put in a lot of funds and a lot of development in education, but specifically regarding the cardiology center, which I set up in memory of my late mom, then Irene Okwuosa. The hospital is actually named then Irene Okwuosa Memorial Hospital. The cardiology is basically because over time we have been involved as a foundation in helping alleviate the medical situations of different people at different times. In some cases, we've had to take people and fly them overseas to Europe, to US, and most of the time to India. And it became clear to us that cardiology issues actually quite a lot within the country, and it's not really being looked after in the way it should be. especially to take care of immediate problems and, of course, get deeper into what is causing the prevalence of this to be able to help ameliorate it. And then we decided to build a hospital to be able to do what can be done anywhere in the world. And that's what motivated us. And I can tell you it's been a huge success. We commissioned it in May this year, and we've had 2 major intervention missions. We actually work together. We have a support of our technical partners, medical technical partners, if you call it so, by name of VOOM Foundation, based out of College Station in Texas, the United States of America. This time they came in with 45 medical specialists, from doctors to all manners of specialists, radiologists, and over a period of 10 days, 24 open heart surgeries were conducted successfully. And I can tell you that about half of those, thereabout, were for pediatric cases, specialized intervention, cardiology intervention process. And then we had, in addition, 8 catheterization procedures undertaken on different patients. So it was quite amazing that such can be done and done in Nigeria. And people came from all over Nigeria, and I can tell you from FCT, and then of course Gombe, Nasarawa, Kogi, southwestern states, and as well as southeast and south-south, we took patients from all over Nigeria. Thank you.
Where exactly is the Dame Okosa Medical Center? Where in Nigeria is it?
If I get it right, the medical center is set up in Oreifite, Ekwusigo local government of Anambra State. That's where it is located, and that's where the headquarters of Sir Emeka Okosa Foundation is located. I'm also from the town, so I chose to put it there because I have good space and I'm able to pay attention to it. And there is also ample communication by road, airports around there, Asaba Airport, Anambra Airport, Owerri Airport, and Enugu Airport. So people can be actually moved in and out of the hospital with ease.
The hospital is reputed for its dialysis procedures. How is it that attention has now shifted from the kidney to the heart?
The hospital actually, to put it, right, is a hospital that actually takes care of general ailments. It's not only cardiology cases, people who have cardiac issues that we attend to. We attend, in fact, last month there was a neurosurgery, a brain surgery that was performed there. What we do have is top-class facilities, modern facilities, cath lab, for example, for the heart, and for catheterization and all that. And then, of course, CT scan, ultra-modern CT scan. And we have 2 state-of-the-art operating theaters. Of course, we have digital x-rays, mobile x-rays, and all what have you. So we actually are able to take care of a gamut of medical issues. We also do a form of kidney management. We have dialysis and all that. So it covers quite more than cardiology cases.
But you began the other time by letting us know that you focus a lot more on, well, a lot on other aspects of life, not just health and medical. But there's something, we'll go to those other areas in a bit, but there's something you also have mentioned, I mean, it appears as if the hospital is focused on domiciling specialized medical procedures in country. And that's interesting because it seems to be trying to domesticate the facilities and infrastructure. And so the question then would be, what are the efforts? Are there efforts being made at grooming and retaining local personnel to relieve visiting specialists?
I mean, thank you for this question, because it's good to put things in proper perspective. If I give you my background, of course, I'm an engineer, I'm not a medical doctor. And one of the reasons I came back to Nigeria in 1993 was actually to domesticate engineering. This we have achieved a lot and we continue to achieve. We run the biggest pipeline company, Oilside. We're building more than 70–80% of all the gas pipelines in Nigeria. Currently, we're building the Ajokuta-Kaduna-Kano pipeline. The reason I give you this background is that while employing upwards of 2,000 people, they are all 100% Nigerians in the oil and gas industry. This is what I brought to bear, and I want to bring basically to bear in the medical cycle. When we talked about our partnership with VOM, all these 45 medical personnel we spoke about that came from overseas, some came from United States of America, some from Canada, and some from Sweden. I can also tell you one thing that is interesting is that amongst these people are Nigerians in diaspora who want to come and give back. Make no mistake, all these procedures we made, these interventions were all free medical care. All this open heart surgery, each of them normally costs 10 to 15 million naira to perform. But these things were done free, sponsored by Oilserve Limited and the foundation. Now, on domestication, I can also tell you that we also had Nigerian doctors and top medical specialists that joined us from all over Nigeria, more than 15 of them in this medical fair that was done, and even in previous ones. Some of them are interventionist cardiologists, some of them are radiologists, some of them are pediatric cardiologists, all manners of specialties in Nigeria. So we are encouraging Nigerians, and what we've achieved here is to provide a platform for Nigerian medical personnel to be able to come in and use these facilities to save Nigerians. And I can also tell you that the Ministry of Health, Federal Ministry of Health, has been very supportive.
It's very, very interesting that it's put that way, and it's something that everyone should really look up to, find a way to emulate and all of that. Let me ask you this one. I mean, you spoke earlier about the fact that you've had to intervene in various sectors as well, from enterprise development, education. We've been talking about health, rural infrastructure, social amenities. Your interventions appear to go all over the place. And if I look at your website, the vision of the vision statement is an Africa where every citizen has access to the resources that they need to effect positive change on a global scale. The question then would be sustainability. I don't know if it is something, let me believe, I mean, you're an engineer, sustainability would be a major concern. So having initiated this foundation and a number of things like that, presupposes that there are some partnerships and funding mechanisms that would help sustain the variety of intervention programs of the Emeka Okwosa Foundation.
Yeah, that's quite very relevant. Thank you. So far, we know that there will always be challenges in trying to achieve such a laudable program. And one of the challenges, of course, is about finance, funding. We started this by self-funding. Basically, Emeka Okwosa Foundation directly funding, a lot of time supported by Oilserve Group. But over time, we've also had corporate bodies and individuals donate to us in order to help out and make this a reality. For the medical programs, our partnership with VOM Foundation is such that VOM Foundation also sponsors financially some of this program or supports it. So it's a combination of support from different sectors. But to sustain this, of course, we have a program. This program is being perfected. Program that will lead to endowment, will lead to support from corporate bodies, from individuals who share the same passion and who believe in making Nigeria better. Because what we're trying to do is, in all that we do how do we make our country better for Nigerians, whether it's in engineering or in medical circle or in provision of education facilities and opportunities, especially girl-child education. I mean, you may wish to know that we built that's a school now, again, in the name of my late mom, who was an educationist before she passed on. There's a school, the name of the Mary Oposa Memorial Convent, which is a female convent. And this, we have contributed a lot to building up this school, and this is functioning very strong. So bottom line is that sustainability, we're working on it, and we understand the challenge. By the time we're done in the next couple of years, we will have a system that is self-supportive, and that's what we plan.
You seem to have ventured into areas that are highly regulated and process certified. What's the relationship with regulatory agencies that ensure quality standards in the areas you ventured into, such as education, health, construction, and so on?
Yes, we realize that will be the case, and that is also good, of course, to have a regulated system. If you talk of medical sector, highly regulated for obvious reasons. Of course, engineering is, you don't build things without following the codes and the specifications. But in medical cycle, we have had very good relationship with the Federal Ministry of Health, with different regulatory agencies, including Anambra State Ministry of Health. They have been very supportive. Of course, at the beginning, we had to adapt to understanding how to deal with issues. But today is more or less seamless. The support is quite very strong. We believe that we're able to follow the rules and be able to overcome any hitches. But the support is there. Thank you.
Well, there is so much to ask you, if only we had a lot more time. But the natural thing would be, so many people would want to find out a lot more about the Emeka Okwosa Foundation. I'm looking at your website. Confirm if it is the one, okwosafoundation.org.
Come again, please.
I said I'm looking at the website, the Sir Emeka Okwosa Foundation, and the URL is okwosafoundation.org.
Yes.
okwosafoundation.org. Is that your website?
Yes, that's my website.
Okay. So I just want to be sure that it is, so that anyone who wants to go, you find out more about it, because we've run completely out of time now. We would want to find out more about your foundation and perhaps partner with you to make Nigeria a better place for everyone. Sir Engineer Emeka Okwosa, CON, Chairman Oil Serve Group, thank you so much for your time this morning, and all the best.
And thank you once more for having me on your program. I appreciate, and keep doing the good works that Channel TV does. We appreciate your work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So that's that conversation. What are you doing to make Nigeria better? We'll be right back after now for another conversation. Please stay with us.
Thank you for staying with us.
I was enjoying that.
It's called Unusual Praise. I thought it was going to be a big program like the one that happened yesterday.
That's why I was dancing.
Like the experience,
That's
you know.
why I was dancing yesterday. I was dancing.
Continue dancing. It's okay. Continue dancing.
No, we want to interview.
This is Christmas mood, so please. One of the objectives of Unusual Praise is to provide funding, business training, and mentorship for entrepreneurs in Nigeria through its Unusual Entrepreneurship Program. Okay.
Everything is unusual.
Okay.
Unusual business.
It's all unusual. So how did this all come about? We have three people representing Unusual Praise this morning. We have Obinna Egudo, who's the originator of Unusual Praise. Good morning.
Good morning, ma.
We also have the chairman, Mr. Chike Oruche.
Good morning.
And we have Tina Igbokwe, who is vice chair, Unusual Praise.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much for coming, all three of you. Obinna, originator. Okay, please tell us. Where did Unusual Praise come from? How did you think that up?
Because it's unusual.
Okay, Unusual Praise. I think we have to go back a bit to 2011. In 2011, the Catholic Church of Divine Mercy, Lekki Phase 1, we had a harvest, and the theme for that harvest was Harvest of Praise. But there are so many other groups in the church that make up the entire church. So during the harvest, each group appoints someone to lead its harvest, as against together with the main harvest. So I was chosen to lead the harvest for the Catholic Charismatic Renewal. So I made them a promise that my leadership would deliver whatever target or they've given us before the D-Day, and on the D-Day we'll just be sitting there and celebrating. So as God will have it, we delivered that. But after the harvest,
you met your target?
Yes.
Or you beat your target?
I met and I surpassed my target, yes.
That's unusual.
So after the harvest, I realized that we are the renewal, the Catholic Charismatic Renewal. We ought to be the friend and we ought to lead from the front. So I went to the service team, that's the leadership of the Catholic Charismatic Renewal in Divine Mercy, and I told them, see, we've raised quite a number of the money we need, and likewise the church. But you see, all these funds that we've raised, what have you actually given to God? The funds are quite good, just like the word of the Lord says in the book of Psalm 50 from verse 8 to 14. It says, I do not reprimand you because of the sacrifices and the burnt offerings you bring me. Yet I do not need bulls from your flocks and goats from your farm. All the animals on the field are mine. The wild birds are mine. The cattle on thousands of field are mine. If I were hungry, I would not ask you for food. But it didn't stop there. The Lord didn't stop there. You see, he said something. He said, do I eat the flesh of bulls or drink the blood of goats? Let the giving of thanks be your sacrifice unto me. Then in verse 23 it says, giving thanks is the sacrifice that honors me. So I went ahead to the service team and I put forward a proposal using the word of the Lord in the book of Psalm 69, 30 and 31. I said to them, the Lord, those words said, I will sing to the Lord a new song. I will proclaim the greatness of God by giving him thanks. But the next verse was very instructive. It says, this will please the Lord more than offering him cattle, more than sacrificing a full-grown bull. Now, those passages I used says that, yes, the Lord is not upset by the things we bring him, but these things we bring him, who end up being the ones using it as in evangelization, in charity, in proclaiming, in quite a number of the things that the church does. But what have we offered to the Lord? What does the Lord really want of us? The Lord wants us to praise him. So in this year that there's harvest of praise, let's give him an unusual praise. And that's how the name came about.
2011.
2011.
So all this scripture from 2011.
No. I'm just saying. No.
Tina, Unusual Praise 2022. What's the plan?
It's going to be an amazing night. Like he said, since 2011, it's been on. And we'll be doing that around the church and around Lekki. We were going to have it at TBS 2 years ago, but COVID happened. So now we are back, we are bigger. This is the largest gathering that you will ever see. It's an amazing night of praise and worship in an unusual way to God who has bestowed so much favor on us. And the theme is, let everything that has breath praise the Lord. Psalm 156. So we're going to all bring everything that has breath from all over the world to praise God in an unusual way, because we're going to have the best artists around in one big stage praising him and giving him that. Like in that Psalm 150, it also tells you how to worship God, who should worship and how to do it. Get the best instrument, the best stage, and all his creatures to worship him.
You know, when you said everything that has breath, just imagine mosquitoes also coming out to worship God.
They'll be there, all right?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, you've had this now for how many years? And what has been the trajectory up until now?
Well, I say 12 years, but we had a little one because of the COVID in 2020. This is the 11th edition in the level that we have. And the numbers have grown and grown and grown. So this year we expect it to be the largest, as she said, and we expect as many more people. So now we're having more Catholic ministers join us as well. We're having more A-list, known names out there as well, ministers join us. So everyone is looking forward to it, and we know that it's going to be...
The reason I asked that, Mr. Ruche, is because people will be wondering, okay, what experience am I going to have that's going to be different from what I've ever had at any concert? And, you know, maybe there are testimonies that you want to say, because I attended in 2018 or 2017, this happened to me and all of that. I don't know if there are such testimonies and things that you can say, God did this and consequently we will not stop. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, let me go into numbers now. Okay. In 2018, we had about 1,500 people give their life back to Christ.
Wow.
That, I know, is a number which, on a regular basis, you don't find in the Catholic Church. But you had that just 1 year. You know, we have over 400 parishes in Lagos Archdiocese. And for that number to come in, you have people who have been away from the Catholic Church who maybe for some reason felt the Catholic Church was too laid back or too conservative for them. But because of that one praise, because of that praise, unusual praise that we've been having, many of them have come back. Many non-Catholics are also saying, we want to be a part of it. I didn't know the Catholics could praise like this. So we've had that number. We've also had people who have benefited one way or the other in our empowerment program also come back and testify that, look, this is something that they don't want to miss out on. They want to be a part of it. Every year they're reaching out to us and saying, we want to be a part of Unusual Praise. How can we be a part of it? So we have the numbers growing there. The numbers keep increasing. 2019, I think we had over 1,500 as well. So the numbers keep increasing. I think after COVID, we haven't kept, maybe last year, we haven't really kept count. But I know we had huge numbers.
Which is the reason why you are going to TBS this year.
Yes.
So this year you're expecting what, 50,000, 80,000?
Well, over.
Obinna.
Well, I can say I'm expecting more than that number. Let me explain. No, let me explain. Unusual Praise, you know, the Catholic Church, we could say they are laid back.
Yes.
However, in recent times, the Unusual Praise has helped with ecumenism. Ecumenism is where we look at the things that unite us as against the things that separate us. Last 3 years, we had a call from the Bishop of Onitsha to come and have Unusual Praise on nature. But COVID happened, we couldn't have it last 2 years. But last year we were there. And this year in October we were there again. And something happened this year. When we're having Unusual Praise, after the opening prayers and the first people were on stage, a mighty rain came. Now, expectedly, especially with the security situation in the East, we were expecting that people would go home. But no. We were there praying behind the scene for the rain to go. And when we came out, because we had quite a few people, when we came out, there was no place to sit or stand. And people were fighting to come into that place.
In the rain.
In the rain. You see, It's online, so it's not something I'm making up. So that's the motivation, because we one is that the Catholic Church has numbers. Two is that because it's an open program for everyone. You know, in praise you lose yourself in God's presence. In praise you give it all to God. So people come to worship God, to dwell in His presence, and to receive from Him. So I know and I'm certain that with the registration that has been going on online, I fear that TBS may not.
People are registering already.
Take the numbers, yes.
Yes.
Wow.
And it's not a concert. Sorry to say that. It's an encounter. It's an evangelism, it's an encounter with God, and people want to have that encounter.
So, what are the things listed on the program, if I can put it that way?
Oh, can I, please? Okay. Let me say something first. Unusual praise is, like I said, first and foremost, where we come to give it all to God, worship God with everything in us. However, at some point, we leave about 30 to 45 minutes for the undiluted Word of God, and we take some intercessory prayers in between. Not long, so that we don't stop the flow of the worship and the praise. Then towards the end, there is a high mass. Now, why do I say this? A lot of persons, what they know about the Catholic Church is what they've heard from non-Catholics. But when they come for unusual praise, they see for themselves what the church is all about. And they understand that it's all about worshiping God, dwelling in His presence, and receiving from Him.
I know, and you've repeated that quite a bit. But looking at the things that have been mentioned earlier, that's why I'm asking. So this business training, mentorship for entrepreneurs, and all those things. So that's why I'm asking, what are the items on the program?
Okay, the item I missed is the one you just mentioned. Unusual Praise has grown to have unusual entrepreneurs. Some in the past, we've empowered in one program alone about 250 persons, many of whom are not Catholics. Our top prizes have not even been won by Catholics. So it's not a question of.
You see, now you're coming up with the question, the item. So
there's worship and praise, and there's economic aspect of unusual praise, where we mentor and empower business startup. And then business. We also groom artists. These artists that we have groomed, we come up on that stage that they will perform just like the A-list artists that you know. And then, like you say, in between, there will be words of ministration, and then advice and how people will, encounter God. In between, people that have also encountered God will come out and give their testimony, and then we'll end it up with the Holy Mass.
So, Mr. Chairman, this competition, tell us about it. That people are going to win something.
Well, Unusual Entrepreneurs started 2018. For people out there, because of the economic situation in Nigeria, you just don't expect a hungry man to actually praise God every time and nothing to eat. Most
on an empty stomach.
So we sat down and looked at it and thought about how to empower or help or assist them with some form of seed funding. So we have prizes we have people. Right now we've done the first lineup of interviews for the selections of people who submitted.
Already.
Yeah. So the final one is going to happen this week, where we'll have a number of people that are going to come up on stage and get their prizes, their seed funding on that day. So there are different categories of people who won. Like we have testimonies from people who won. Like 2018, I know there was someone who actually started with 2 pigs. He was into piggery. He started with 2 pigs, and after he won the 250, the prize at that time, 250,000. Now he has about 144, wow. And he has over 9 staff. And we also have someone who started, who's into herbal medicine. He was doing just liquid. When he won his own seed funding, he went into capsulating it, and preserving it, and also putting it in bottles and actually selling them outside Nigeria as well. And I think his NAFDAC number is almost out for him to. So those are kind of things that you're going to be getting. It's not just praising. We have the praising aspect. We have the empowerment aspect. And also because for the command that was given to us, which is to go out there and spread the word of God, it's also that big evangelization, which is what Unusual Praise is all about.
Yeah, after all, Jesus Christ himself had a feast for people, 5,000 people, 5,000 women, the Bible says. I don't know how many men were there. I don't know why were you guys not counted? Anyway, don't answer that question. So, what are the expected outcomes of this particular episode beyond evangelism?
I would say the expected outcomes, just like my sister said, is an encounter. It's very personal. Many people return to the church. Many people are more open to Christianity, not just Catholicism. Many people are healed. There are healings that are beyond the physical, mental, psychological, but most importantly, many people come to accept Christ, and that is phenomenal. Like you said, we have this Yes program where they call in all the people who want to give their lives, and the number we keep getting, we now have to call them and personalize it. It's quite a huge number, and it brings in a lot of people from out there.
Where can people go to get more information?
Well, you could go on, we'll have CCDM at, Unusual Praise at ccdm.com, at CCDM at unusualpraise.com.
CCDM
at unusualpraise.com. And
wait, Oga. Don't lost me. CCDM dot what?
CCDM at unusualpraise.com.
Please don't look like, don't be another.
CCDM at unusualpraise.com.
You also have the Instagram handle at Unusual Praise. You have Facebook as well. You have
YouTube.
No, you have the YouTube also. You can get some things from YouTube.
Okay.
And then some numbers also as well.
And you say people have to register before they turn up.
No.
By the way, what date is it?
There's no pre-registration.
What date is it?
It's the 9th of December.
9th
At
December.
TBS.
Just to be clear, you said there is no pre-registration.
No, we're telling you about the Unusual Entrepreneur.
Oh, okay.
So the Unusual Praise, we are registering, people register just for it, but no pre-registration is required for you to be there.
Okay.
It's a free event.
Okay, but you have to register for Unusual Entrepreneur.
Yes.
Yeah, but
for you to submit your business plan.
Okay.
And also because we are dealing with people, maybe people who are selling on the street, granite, those people we require them just to bring their phone number and submit it physically at the office for us to know that we're dealing with a physical person.
These are the ones that you have to do a short listing before the day.
Yes, for the entrepreneurship.
And you present their prizes to them on that day.
On the stage, yeah.
So they have to pre-register and present their work.
Yes, and we have done that already. We've done that pre-selection.
And, those entries are closed?
Yeah.
It's closed.
Okay. We also have, because of, the Catholic Church, like I said, we have over 400 parishes out there. We have people who can afford to transport themselves over to the venue.
GPS.
So sometimes what we do is allocate vehicles to some parishes. So there we have representatives in those various parishes who are collating like names. So we know the number of people and know what to plan to go and get them. So that's why we do some form of registration in those parishes, just to know the numbers of people that we're looking out for, that we can plan in terms of allocating transportation to them.
I suspect that what you were trying to quote to us the other time as your website was HTTPS, right?
It has obviously happened to you before. That's
no, it doesn't happen to me. It's unusualpraise.org.
Yes.
Unusualpraise.org. That's your website.
That's our website.
What cracked my head?
From what you said earlier, Obinna, obviously it's not just for Catholics.
No, it's open to all.
Like
Everything
that has breath.
Yes,
Catholic, non-Catholic, Christians, unbelievers,
Catholic, Muslim,
everybody is
pagan.
welcome.
Everybody.
Yes.
You've had one in
You are
September.
all welcome.
Yeah, we have one in
Onitsha.
Onitsha.
In Onitsha.
Yeah.
So
On
the
the
Lagos
9th,
one is coming on the
December
9th
9th.
of
December
December.
9th.
time.
Friday. Starts at 5
5
p.m.
5
p.m.
p.m. Yes.
Till 10th, 5,
Till
6,
Okay,
6
until Mama
a.m.
calls on the following
Yes,
day.
yes.
It's okay. So make mommy not quick
Until
call.
cock crow.
Okay, so just a quick recap. No registration required.
No registration.
What do people need to come with?
They don't need to come with anything. They
Just
just
come with your
and-
dancing shoes.
That's
Come
all.
prepared.
Dancing shoes.
And
your
safety,
vuvuzelas.
Your vuvuzelas.
security is guaranteed.
Yeah.
Lagos State Safety Commission is working with us. They've done the risk assessment. All the security apparatus is on ground. So come and you are safe. We've done everything that we can do.
Working with the
to be
local
safe.
vigilantes as well,
Everything is
everyone,
good.
the forces as well. So
And, do you have volunteers also into the engine room? Because he talked about some praying machinery in...
Yes, that's the one thing that
I
we don't say.
We're interested for that.
No, that's the one thing that we don't say out there. The prayer team, they've been out since the beginning of the year, and they're not giving up. They're holding. The word of the Lord says, on your towers have I placed you. Do not let me rest until I answer you. They're sitting there to water that ground, and whosoever steps on that ground will not go back the same. That's what I can promise you.
Okay.
Amen to that. All we can do now is wish you all the best. Unusual Praise and Unusual Entrepreneur, happening on the 9th of December at Fabalewa Square from 5 p.m. until cock crow. The website to go to is ccdm at unusualpraise.org.
Just
unusualpraise.org.
Unusual praise.
You know, the man...
unusualpraise.org. That's where you go to. And of course, they're also on Instagram at Unusual Praise. And also on YouTube. You can also you can get all the information you want
And
from
it's going
there.
to be live. It's going to be streamed live on all the social media handles. It's going to be on DSTV 198. And your channel have also graciously agreed to do some kind of airing. So it's going to be streaming. So it's going to be
YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Yes, and the radio station.
on
198.
Okay.
And they can go to their parishes. Every parish in Lagos.
All of that information on your website.
Thank you very much for coming to tell us about this very exciting event. Obinna Ikudo, originator of Unusual Praise, and he's come along with the chairman of Unusual Praise, Chike Oruche, as well as the vice chairman or chairperson, Tina Igbokwe. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having us.
you.
And Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
Unusual Merry Christmas. We'll be back.
Sunrise, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
I know that I don't text enough, but you're always on my mind.
Okay. To show you that we care about you, our friend, we want to talk about one of the most important things in your life. That's your blood. You know the way I talk about blood? In an organization, the admin department is the bloodstream. Because you don't see them.
But they are there working.
But they are there. Okay. So, we want to talk about blood care. And it just so happens, just about a few minutes ago, maybe about 30 seconds ago, we heard that we're going to have the first National Blood Donors Day in this country. Yeah. And I'm wondering, in the first place, the idea of donating blood is a scary one for most people. With the blood, you never chop.
Well, it's worse now, isn't it?
Exactly.
It was better before, because I remember I used to regularly donate blood when I was younger.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes I would ask myself, so why are you doing this? So I'll just lie there, and they would say to me, when you finish, go and take plenty of water.
Anyway, this conversation is a lot, so let's begin it with Dr. Bodrin Oshikomaya, who is the Executive Secretary, Lagos State Blood Transfusion Agency.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody.
An entire agency
Yes, please.
for blood transfusion.
Just for blood transfusion.
So what exactly do you do?
So the first is that we have a mandate to ensure that there is safe blood in the country, in the states, through voluntary blood donation, through processing of the blood,
Okay.
checking up the blood for transfusion transmissible infectious agents, ensuring that blood is adequately transfused through appropriate clinical use of blood, and also to regulate the blood transfusion centers around, that is the private blood banks, the public blood banks. So the issue of blood is really important because it's a form of transplant, quote and unquote, because you are taking a part of somebody's body and you are directly putting it inside. So if that blood is not safe, we are going to endanger the lives of the person having it. Apart from that, as you have said, blood is a scary issue. You cannot lump it. Yeah, you can't lump it with the whole of healthcare just like that. We really need to have one-to-one contact. It's not a culture around here. So we need to ensure that people understand the science of blood, the need for blood, the health of blood, as you have said. It's a lot of work. And we've been doing it for years. At least the Lagos Blood Transfusion Service has been established since 2004, and we still have not gotten there.
The number one thing you mentioned is blood donation. How is that going?
So blood donation is, we have started. It's going slowly. It's getting better every year. So
that's surprising.
Yes, it's getting better every year because we want to encourage more voluntary blood donation, much more than other forms of blood donation.
With 133 million people.
Yeah.
In poverty.
Yeah.
Multidimensional poverty.
Thank you. Where are these donors coming from? The moon?
No, they're coming from you and I. No, I did not
say...
say...
You have to eat well to be able to donate blood, because you're going to check the quality of my blood.
Definitely, even before we collect it. So I've not said that we've gotten the adequate amount, and I have to tell you that we are really far from the adequate amount. If you look at what the WHO says, that the World Health Organization talks about our need, it says that our need for any country, for any population, is supposed to be 1 to 2% of the population. So if you look at Nigeria, we don't usually use 138 million, we use about 200 million in Nigeria. So if you look at that population, look at 1% of that population, that is about 2 million units of blood, and we have not gotten it. In Lagos State, it's about 200,000 units of blood. If you look at the population of about 20 million. In 2021, we're able to meet only 50% of that need. Only 50% of that need. But it is better than years before. Every year, we are taking a step forward, getting closer to that mark. We haven't gotten there yet, but it's better than before.
There's a lot to talk about that. Perhaps let's look at the lifestyle angle of it, because that's what this segment is about. Perhaps the challenge, one of the challenges could be people don't even know. It's like I am denied of something when I give blood. I give my blood, I don't get anything. Is there any benefit to it?
Lots of benefits, loads of benefits. So the first benefit that every blood donor will feel is you know that you are saving a life. There's this sense of, I'm doing something good. I'm saving somebody's life.
Somebody is going to tell you right away, look, save my life first. Even me, I don't even feel safe first.
And then that is it. And then the second is that's the benefit to the person that will receive the blood. For the person given the blood, the first thing is that you're having a mini health check, because you're going to check your blood, check your health status, check your physical status. So you have a mini health check, and we're able to even diagnose some potential problems in some people. So we will do all those. We will check your blood pressure, we will check your blood level, if it is adequate or not. We will ask you a series of questions. The questions could be so tiring sometimes, but people do not ask those questions. Even when you get to the hospital sometimes, the doctors face your complaints. But when you are donating, we look at a whole myriad of questions that you might not even think of. So you are even able to detect if there is something wrong or not. Apart from that, studies have shown that a lot of blood donors, as in if you donate blood regularly, there's a lesser incidence of cancer, less incidence of cardiac diseases, of strokes, and of liver diseases. And this is really nice. Preventive health is the major thing, especially in this country, Nigeria.
You've talked about some of those
Yes.
benefits. Now, the question that naturally comes to mind for me is, how is giving blood helping
the donor?
Yes, so that is it. So the donor, if you are donating blood, there's a reduced incidence of you having cancers, liver diseases. Now, there's something called iron in our blood. So blood donation regulates the iron levels. And studies have found out that when this iron level is well regulated, people do not have, they're less predisposed to all these conditions. And I also mentioned that if you donate blood, we are able to uncover potential health problems. We do tests for you. We do viral checks for you. We check your blood pressure. And we check your packed cell volume. And so all these things are beneficial.
Donating, your blood is kind of rejuvenating.
Yes, yes, your blood is rejuvenating, and we are taking out some of those iron in that blood you are giving somebody else.
How does it help to reduce the risk of cancer?
So, well, these are studies that I might not be able to talk about here, but it's all surrounding the level of the iron in the body.
Okay.
So, how do I ensure that I have healthy, good blood in my body?
Yeah.
So that I can donate. Even if I don't want to donate, at least I have good, healthy blood and I don't have to worry about my blood.
So we've talked about it already. It's all about lifestyle changes. First, we want you to eat well as you can, having a balanced diet.
Please define
how well.
So you don't need to eat large amounts of eba or apple or
what if I'm not
carbohydrates. Well, if you're not bellyful,
you were told last week you should not be more than this if you
that woman will come back and come and talk about that thing.
So you don't need to eat large amounts, but you just need to eat the right quantity. Vegetables. Have vegetables in your meals. Have
you people should speak the thing that is Nigerian.
Proteins.
Madam, relax. Relax. Wait. From my experience, my own experience, I chop small food, eat plenty vegetable. In 2 hours, okay, no,
you're hungry again.
I'm hungry again.
But you know that sometimes just because you're hungry does not mean our body really needs the food.
But my stomach is feeling it and calling for it.
Then you take a lot of water. You know, I've not talked about that. I've talked about feeding.
Okay,
a lot. You need to rehydrate yourself.
Women, please.
2 carrots.
Please. You people should relax. You should calm down.
Okay, all right.
Oh God. What's his name?
The man he have provoked.
Gideon, Musiliu, Abdullahi, who went to the farm to work. You ask him
to eat
small this one and plenty vegetable. Please explain. How will he not be hungry in 1 hour after the whole body
manual work?
Yes.
After the manual work. Well,
or are you saying there's different studies for?
No, we need to have adequate. No, but there's something called balanced diet. Understand? So if he's even going to eat a little bit more, we need him to have adequate amounts of vegetables and proteins. And instead of going for all the comos all the time, you can say, oh, give me a bit of como, but please put kidney inside. Do you have
please don't touch that
cells in your No, they buy all these things.
Please don't touch that.
They're all as
please. Don't touch that.
You put all the so you have a little bit of the pomo. Don't take only pomo in
that's roundabout.
No, yes, all those ones. We have
English,
the kidneys, the
internal
liver,
affairs.
yes,
all those internal affairs,
all those
offals
in the body. So you need to balance it. Don't take too much of one. Put a little of this, a little of that, a little of that, and then you can have that balanced diet. And above all, you need to rehydrate yourself a lot. So rehydrate yourself, and then take a lot of rest. The body works better when you rehydrate it and you take a lot of rest too.
Madam, there are a number of people who are sitting down at home or whatever it is now, watching us and trying to make sense of all these things that we're talking about. Well, you will still answer this question, Alera. Please make sure we don't forget. How do you know you have too much blood in your system? We'll talk about that one. Yeah. But in terms of eating healthy and building up good blood in your system. You have talked about the things that people need to do. What are the things that you know as a medical practitioner, as a doctor, that people do that endangers their blood, that they don't know? They've done it for so many years. They will tell you, look, my grandpa lived up to 138 and he didn't die until this. I'm just doing exactly the same thing my daddy did, and all those things. There are those who will come to you and say, look, you say we shouldn't smoke, we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do that, but my great-grandfather did it for so many years. And so how do people...
Died at 98.
And, you know, they lived long life. In their generation, they always live long, no matter what they eat. How do people, you know what not to consume or what to consume? What are the ways in which people endanger their bloods without knowing it?
So first of all, it's, as you said, it's all about your lifestyle. Smoking actually, in a way, makes your blood levels high a little bit. So people will say do not smoke, but we have people that will smoke just before donation. It gives the body a sense of reduced oxygen, and then the bone marrow produces momentarily some hormones that increases that blood. And so we tell people that want to donate blood, when you are coming to donate blood, please do not smoke. We have World Health Organization criteria that if you must donate blood and you're smoking, you must refrain from smoking for at least 48 to 72 hours, so that your body does not assume that there isn't oxygen and then it increases. By the time you collect the blood and the blood is tested after a while, we just notice that the percentage of that blood level is actually very, very low.
Whoa.
With respect to taking alcohol, alcohol can damage our body organs. It can damage our liver, it can damage our kidneys, and these are where we produce hormones that goes into the bone marrow to produce blood. Apart from that, not going for regular health checks could actually endanger our lives. There are some things that causes blood to be lost. Things like, for females, females that have fibroids, some of them will tell you, okay, I have fibroids, but we don't go to the hospital. I'm not going to treat it medically. I'm going to use some herbal medications. But things like this will make the woman lose blood regularly every month, and then the woman gradually begins to have a low level of blood. What about peptic ulcer disease? Especially now that we have a lot of spiritual people and lots of poverty. You are not eating well, you are feeling the pains, or you are doing a lot of manual labor and you are taking things called NSAIDs, that's non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, that can predispose you to ulcer. You know, you might not know what is wrong, but regularly the blood loses bits and bits of this blood in your stool. And it's endangering the life of the person. Generally, the health is endangered, the body is losing some blood. What other things can cause us to lose blood? Also for males and females, urinary tract infections, worm infestations. We eat outside, we have a lot of worms in the food that we eat. I know these worms will gradually suck a little bit. They feed on both the food and on the blood, and gradually the blood level of this individual is going down. So we not having regular health checks or not accessing health in the right place can endanger the blood of that individual.
So how does a person know when they don't have enough blood in their body?
So that's
what you call anemia, right?
That is what we call anemia. So anemia is if you don't have adequate amounts of blood for your age and for your sex. Okay. So the blood levels depends on your age, and it also depends on your gender. The gender that you have. So one of the first things you notice is, oh, you might feel dizzy. I'm tired, I get tired easily. What is wrong with me? I'm feeling very, very tired. That is the commonest complaints by anybody. Then you could also come down with headaches. Oh, I feel a little bit dizzy and I'm having associated headaches. And that is what that individual will say. However, when people are looking at that individual, oh, you look pale. Yeah, you say you look white. You are looking pale and white. So you will also notice on the complexion, on the palms of the hands, in the eyes, that the person is actually looking at your hands, don't worry. Yes, you look pale. So those are the commonest symptoms that we notice, the commonest signs that are noticed from the person that does not have adequate blood. Also, and the other angle, for people that have excess amount of blood. They will also come and tell you that, well, I'm having headache, I'm having some sounds in my ears. Some people complain of that. Some will tell you that, oh, there's something called plethora, your body is very red, and you're like, why is my body very red? It might just be excess blood in the system, which is also...
What causes excess blood in your system?
Well, first of all, the name is polycythemia. It could be due to many things. It could be due to an illness called polycythemia rubra. It is an illness. The body genetic system malfunctions and it begins to produce red cells, that's blood, even when it is enough. It might also be due to acts that we do, as in our activities like smoking, anything that reduces your oxygen in the body. It can cause the body to produce more and more cells. And people that live in high altitudes, people that live in areas like Jos, they actually have more blood than every other person because of that high altitude. So it depends on, it can be due to your activities, it can also be due to an illness.
Are there risks to having too much blood in your system for too long?
Yes, there are risks to it. If there are too much blood, if it is due to an illness, you know, it could lead to things like blood clots in the body. Oh. Yes, it could lead to, it could transform to another form of cancer. So, as I say, if it's an illness, if it is not well cared for, the person can transform to a cancer, a form of blood cancer. So we really need to know what is causing the excess amount of blood in the body before the person goes. So anytime we encounter, so if anybody comes, if you have a group of people coming for blood donation and we check the levels and it is high, we don't let the person go and we do not collect the blood. The first thing we do is to refer that donor to a hematologist for good investigations. That person cannot go back home to sleep without us knowing why that blood is increased. Because if it's due to an illness, then that person has to access care as soon as possible.
Don't look at me like that. I'm not the doctor.
No, I've given up.
Let's go back to...
Too little blood? Too much blood?
Too much blood.
Everything is conditional. It's
yes.
Okay. Now, you please speak again to the nutrition angle of blood. I know that, I mean, you stated it earlier. What are the things that people need to consume, especially as we build up to the... what your people call Christmas. As we build up to the Christmas season and the end of year, you know, there's always a lot of merriment at this time. A lot of people go to a lot of events, a lot to drink, a lot to eat, and all those things. So there are cultures people cultivate at this time of the year that impairs their health, especially their blood, which we don't even know. You know, because I mean, you just eat, you don't know, you eating, you've digested, you enjoyed it, and that's it. You won't keep
and it's fun to enjoy food.
Exactly. So what are those things?
Food makes one happy.
What are those things we need to pay attention to, especially nutritionally, in order to retain or maintain the health of our blood systems as we approach the end of year?
So we advise that eat a lot of foods with vitamins in it, things that have folic acids, folic acids and vitamin B, such as vegetables. Green vegetables have got a lot of iron in it too. You want to take a lot of things with iron. Green vegetables, I like okras, ewedus, the spinach too is always very good.
You didn't talk about ogbono, and that can be, for some of us, we can protest.
So with respect to ogbono, don't worry, it's all draw. Just take a bit of okra with the ogbono and enjoy yourself.
So are you saying there's no nutrient at all in ogbono?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Better.
I'm just saying that there must be some nutrients in it, but it doesn't have that, might not have as much iron compared to other vegetables like okra. And then we want to take a lot of fruits. Fruits have vitamins in it. Vitamin C helps the body to absorb nutrients that your body needs to form blood. So take fruits that have citruses are beautiful. Take the cucumbers, it's green, it has a lot of nutrients in it, it has fluids in it, it has a lot of water that will help you to hydrate yourself.
Not very popular.
Yes, because it's not sweet.
Because it's tasteless.
Yes, it's tasteless. Yes, you got it
Come
right.
on.
Yeah.
And then that is with respect to the vegetables and the fruits. And then what about the proteins? We want you to take foods with proteins. We want you to take proteins that have iron. So the red meat is a lot. We discourage a lot of red meat because it is said to have a lot of cholesterol in it. So but it also has a bit of iron in it. So take some of the red meat, take some of the livers, the kidneys, all of them have a high content.
Internal affairs.
The internal affairs, you got it right. It has a lot of, what do you call it in it, ions in it. So
Roundabout, does that have any nutrient?
It's internal affairs. So all the...
Does it have any nutrient?
Well,
what about cow leg?
So, well, it must have some nutrients, might not just be the nutrients that we are talking about now.
Just please don't touch Momo.
Then
I beg
what
you.
about your legumes? Your legumes.
We want to
like
make shoes
beans.
in Nigeria, so please leave Momo alone. Stop eating Momo.
We will go to Lekki Gate for you, so just be careful. We don't want us to protest.
Your legumes are nuts. They've got a lot of folic acids in it and iron. So your granules, your almond nuts, your beans, and they're also your soya beans too, the normal red beans. They're also good. So if you are taking anything during this Yuletide season, you're having your rice, just put a bit of salad with it, put a bit of beans with it, and you will definitely enjoy that meal.
Let me ask you to counsel us about people remembering their health when they eat, because many just want to fill their tummy. I mean, it's something we all know. Why are you laughing? But people just want to eat, just want to fill their tummy. Meanwhile, there is a need for us to pay attention to some stuff. I asked that question because, just as you said, there are people who have maybe some blood disorders that they're not even aware of.
Yeah.
What can people consume now to at least try to begin to address some of those medical blood conditions that they have, which they may not be aware of?
Well, if you have a blood condition, really, feeding itself might not be the priority. You need to get to the hospital for regular health checks. If you do not check, you might not know until a disastrous or drastic thing happens, and then you need to be rushed to the hospital. So feeding is one thing. The health condition in blood is another thing. So with respect to food and health, and it's usually with people who have sickle cell disease that comes to mind now, because you don't want them to have too much iron in their system. So we advise them, don't take iron preparations, don't take too much iron in your meals. But usually food should help to promote and to ensure that your bone marrow produces better blood. So health conditions are one thing, the feeding is another thing. You need to see a doctor regularly to be able to detect that. And when you come for a blood donation, you can donate blood 3 or 4 times a year. Even if you have not seen it, even though you are not seeing a doctor, you are answering some questions that can help us discover this blood disorders.
Yes. Up until what age can you donate blood 3 times a year?
So you can donate blood from the age of 18 to the age of 60 years old, regularly 3 to 4 times a year.
So when are you going to donate?
It's coming very soon.
Don't forget, I'm not the guest. She's the guest. So I am with you asking questions for now.
It's coming very soon.
Okay. So, you know that generally the idea of donating blood voluntarily by people is not appealing.
No.
Yeah.
I'd like you to please, perhaps in the spirit of the National Blood Donation Day, tell us again what people stand to benefit, poverty or not. Because there are those who would wonder, look, I'm already a poor man. I cannot have enough blood in my system. Is it possible for them to have more blood?
Yes, it's possible. And with that question, when I'm faced with that question, what I tell the donor is, we won't even collect your blood without checking. You never can say how much blood is in your system, if it is adequate for donation or not, if you don't sit down and be checked. And in checking, it takes just a few seconds to check. Once you've answered the question, we will use the point of care sticks, that's the hemoglobinometer, to check if the blood is adequate. And you see the level. If it is not adequate, we'll tell you, oh, Mr. Man, Mrs. Woman, we don't have enough blood. You need to do this, this, this. So blood donation, coming for a blood donation, also helps to educate that person on a healthy lifestyle. And we tell, if it is not adequate, we tell you, we cannot collect now. Can you do this in the past next weeks? Sometimes we give imatinics to that person if the person is healthy. That's blood drugs, blood promoting drugs. We give some of them that. And we tell them to come back in 3 to 6 months, where we'll check again to know if it is adequate. But if it is too much, as I said, it is a form of, we refer them to the hospital. So if we notice anything, even if the blood is adequate, and we notice something in the blood donation questionnaire field, that there is something odd there, we won't collect. We will refer you to the healthcare giver, physician, for you to be well assessed.
I remember once upon a time, I think it was specific hospitals or something, they were paying people to donate blood. I don't know how that went. Of course, some people who were not adequate were turning up to donate blood and probably being turned back that their blood was not adequate, but they needed the small change that they were going to get. So does that happen often, that blood banks offer some kind of...
hospitals naturally might not, but there are a lot of, because of poverty, as you said, everybody wants something, and some people just want gifts. There is a group of people called commercial blood donors. They donate for a fee, and we do not encourage it. We are, the Lagos State Blood Transfusion Service, the National Blood Service Commission, have zero tolerance to commercial donors. First of all, once you are a commercial donor, you lie to donate blood. You don't speak the truth. You might do things to ensure that the blood level is momentarily increased, and this is not good for the person that would receive the blood. Before we collect blood, we ask the person about risk lifestyles. When was your last donation? Do you have multiple sexual partners? Do you share needles? Have you used this drug? Have you done this procedure recently? So if the person is a commercial donor, because the person wants some financial remuneration, person will lie. So we in Nigeria, we are completely against commercial donors. So what we do in Lagos State is that those that do, we have a lot of stakeholder meetings with them, and we tell them, instead of giving money, have you ever tried to give maybe a carton of pasta, some food stuff? Some of them will claim, I want to use this money for food. You can as well just give them the food stuff. So, because sometimes we don't know what happens to this money. So we have a project that helps convert commercial donors to voluntary donors.
Madam, you people use this thing to check blood pressure, Abby?
We don't use this one to check blood pressure.
Or you use something like this?
We use something like that to check blood pressure.
Now, how important is this blood donation stuff, this blood pressure checking stuff to blood donation?
Well, we want to check if there's a high blood pressure or there's a low blood pressure. Your blood pressure is a pointer to the health of that person, to the cardiac state of that individual. So if the blood pressure is high, we know there's something wrong with the heart. Even when it is low, begin to ask what is the problem. We cannot take blood from anybody that has a high blood pressure or a low blood pressure. It could cause the person to lose consciousness. It could endanger the life of the person and even lead the person to death.
So what if that person has too much blood in the system and he or she has high blood pressure or low blood pressure?
We can't even collect from the person. If there's too much blood in the system, if the blood pressure is high, if it is low, especially when it's untreated, we do not touch the person.
But you also said now that donating blood helps with blood pressure.
Yes, it helps with blood pressure, because once you're a regular donor, it helps to stabilize your blood pressure. So if you come to us and you want to donate blood and your blood pressure is high, what do? We refer you for health care. You go and see your doctors. We won't collect from you.
So if the person is certified okay, to
Donate blood.
To donate with the high blood pressure. What
If
happens?
we will not collect, because that blood pressure, we cannot collect blood from somebody that has a high blood pressure. You need to get care. You need to be treated.
Madam, may I go her village? But I say, I don't want to collect. Because you medical practitioners, informed us not too long ago that there are about 70 million Nigerians living with blood pressure conditions in their body. Now, you said you need about 20 million Nigerians.
2 million Nigerians.
2 million Nigerians to donate blood.
2 million
regularly.
Nigerians to donate blood.
And you have 70 million living with blood pressure issues. You have 133 million living
with poverty.
Multi-dimensional poverty. So, madam, when I want to get on.
So, if you are well managed and you are being treated for your blood pressure and your blood pressure is stable, steady, we do collect blood. But if your blood pressure is, I wouldn't collect blood on someone and then the person collapses and dies. You wouldn't want you to help somebody and in the long run we are rushing to help you. There are lots of people that can donate blood, that are eligible to donate blood, despite the people with high blood pressure, despite the people that are living in poverty.
Okay. What role do you see corporate organizations playing in this?
Well, corporate organizations are awesome. They are already playing that role. So the first role is for them to have corporate social responsibilities. The same way they do in humanitarian services, that they go to old people's homes, that they clean the streets, they can also organize blood donation drives 2 times.
From their staff?
From the staff. So we have quite a number of them that call us. And corporate organizations give us large amounts of blood at the same time. Imagine you are going to an organization that has about 1,000 people in it. We are sure to get maybe 1%, about 100. So when you have a corporate organization, it is easy to regularly educate because they are a well-organized gathering. So we educate them, we have webinars with them, we go there in person to sensitize them on the need to donate blood. They ask questions, beautiful, intelligent questions, and we're also able to answer them. So that's the first. The second thing is that corporate organizations can give souvenirs. We encourage them that if you have souvenirs from your organization, please donate it to the Blood Service Commission or to the Lagos State Blood Transfusion Service, so that when any other person donates blood, we will give it to them. Even though I'm giving something freely, I also want to have a good memo. I want to remember that day. So those souvenirs does not pay for the blood, but it makes you remember that act of life, that life-saving act that you have done. So the third thing is we encourage corporate organizations to also spread their wings for us. They have other organizations that are related to them, that do things with them. Oh, you have done this. Do you have other organizations that are also willing to donate blood voluntarily? And the last thing, we encourage them to also be advocates. Advocacy and sensitization for blood donation is really, really poor. So organizations are encouraged. How can you help be an advocate or help to sensitize for blood? Publicities. When you are doing publicities, just give us 1 or 2 lines, donate blood, save lives. It goes a long way, it goes far, and it helps a lot.
Well, maybe that charity has to begin from the home of Lagos State government. But let me.
It's happening already.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
And I know, you are domiciled in Lagos and you reside with the Lagos State Blood Transfusion Committee. But if you can look at it on a national scale, maybe for a moment or two, do you see peculiarities in any region of Nigeria? I know that you may not want to speak about it, but you're a professional, first of all, before you are in Lagos. So speak professionally. Are there cultural practices or cultural lifestyles that encourage or inhibit blood donation, which could also may have a negative or positive impact on people's attitude to blood donation?
Yeah, it's easier for me to talk about Lagos State.
I know.
Yes.
But you're a professional.
I'm a professional. So with respect to regions, I really cannot specifically say, but a lot of blood comes from Lagos State, and that is because there is quite a number of sensitization and advocacy happening. I also know that places like Plateau State and Abuja, because we have groups, we have groups of people that are willing to do a lot of advocacy. It's not like Nigerians do not want to save lives. Nigerians are even the sets of people that always want to do more. But you know, the advocacy and the sensitization for this could be poor. So it's regions where we have a higher advocacy and sensitization rate, those regions donate more blood. With respect to cultural practices, I think I'll just go on to religion. In Lagos, we have quite a number of Muslims donating blood. They do more blood donation than the other religions that we have here. And it's because there's a part of the Quran that encourages that, okay, if you cannot give physical items, but you can give something from your body to them. And so it encourages a lot of them to donate blood. And with respect to Christians, we always quote something in Christianity that the life of the body is in the blood. And so we'll go to them and say, can you please, the life of the body is the blood, Christ died for us, or because of Calvary. You know, we try to relate the acts in the Bible to the act of donation. It is beginning to yield a lot of fruits in the Christian setting.
Okay. I'll still talk about this Christmas season.
Yes.
There's going to be a lot of chicken. What are those things common to the season that should be encouraged? What are those things common to the season that you would advise caution? I'm going to bullet this into two. People are going to travel out of their primary domains a lot. They'll go to the village. Some people will go to Shekiri or whatever their area is. Don't look at me like that, please. What are the things that you would ask that they pay attention to and encourage? What are practices that you would ask and caution that they should discourage?
Well, with respect to health, eat well, eat right, and eat regularly. Don't binge drink. Don't binge drink.
That's a tall order right there.
Don't binge drink. And just try to do exercises, especially those going to the village. Look, I really wish I could go there now. Rests. Please take adequate rests. Rest well, rehydrate yourself very well, and do a bit of exercises. Well, so it's all about the same things, healthy living. Okay. Whatever you do for your whole body will definitely affect your blood.
Before you go, I have to ask you this one. You said the other time that people should not drink alcohol. But you also said the other time, we've heard this, and please, you may have as well, said that red wine is good for the blood.
I didn't say you shouldn't take alcohol. What I said is, when you want to donate blood, we have people that take alcohol that donate blood. What we say is, do not take alcohol 48 to 72 hours before you donate blood.
That's 2-3 days before.
So we refrain from it.
Is red wine good for the blood?
Well, red wine is good for the body.
Not the blood.
The blood is part of the body.
I'm just asking, just to be clear.
We really must not leave this place without talking about the National Blood Donors Day. It's the first of its kind, and we are really excited about it. And it's also the Yuletide season. You are giving gifts. If you cannot give me a pair of shoes, give somebody a unit of blood. And so it's coming at the time.
How many pints do you take?
We take just one.
1 pint, okay.
We need to describe that pint. Have you seen pure water before, sachet water? It is exactly that size.
50 cl.
Yeah, sachet water is about 450 cl.
Oh, sorry.
150 cl. So it's going to happen on the 8th all over Nigeria. It's the first of its kind. We are excited about it because it's going to bring Nigerians to understand that blood donation is a civic responsibility. You have to save somebody else's life. We cannot manufacture blood from anywhere. It's also an opportunity for us to inaugurate the tertiary blood safety club, because in Nigeria, most of the people that donate blood are youths. We are talking about corporate organizations. The good thing about them is that they are an organized group.
At this juncture, madam, you have to pay to channels to come and do the rest.
No,
We
no,
have
we're not going to
taken-
do anything. So,
Okay.
just join.
Well, we have to thank you very much for being here this
Yes,
morning.
please.
And it's been quite educational, but because many people didn't know that giving blood is they have health benefits.
It's therapy.
Therapy. Dr. Obiodun Shikomaya, Executive Secretary, Lagos State Blood Transfusion Committee. Thank you for being here this morning, and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. I'm expecting you.
We'll talk about that one in camera. So, the home stretch is next. After now, please stay with us.
Yeah, I'm sure we got you a bit confused right there. We're playing Kiss Daniel and we're showing somebody else's face. Well, Kiss Daniel is not our guest today.
Not
It is
yet.
that face that you saw, who is our artist of the week today, and he is an award-winning musician, and his name is Segun Johnson. Good morning, Segun.
Good morning, ma'am.
How are you?
Very, very well, very well.
They say you've been in this business for the last 6 years.
Professionally.
Oh, okay. You were doing it inside house before.
Yes.
He's a church boy.
Why?
Well, the thing is, there is always direction at a point in one's career. So that 6 years ago, that was when we registered the company. We were doing corporate events, like we formalized everything we were doing. Before then, we were just running here, there. We sing for Ikomo, we sing for this one. We were just
Anywhere
us
they
with-
call you,
anywhere.
ready for sing. Just sing on.
Well, just to put this in context, Segun Johnson was also at last year's December, event that we had.
Sunrise special.
Sunrise special. so-
DSS.
DSS.
Keep that.
Yes, that's
keep
true.
DSS in your head
Keep
because there's
DSS,
going to be more coming about that.
DSS, so not DSS, but DSS. Not DSS, but DSS.
DSS.
We'll see.
Don't get them mixed up, please.
There is DSS and there is DSS. Did you see that picture of two reptiles? Say, okay, one is an alligator and one is a crocodile. The alligator is the one beside the crocodile in the picture.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic way of telling me which one is the croc and which one is the alligator. Yes, yes, yes.
So, Segun, we had a brief conversation once before, and you said, transitioning from playing in church to playing outside was a thing for you. How did that go?
It was actually very, very challenging in that there is an expectation that is placed on you when you sing in church. Now, I tell people this, yes, Nigeria is very, very religious, but you always expect anyone that holds the mic to be Angel Gabriel. So there is an expectation from you when you sing in church. So when I started getting events, weddings, several events, and people come to the party, they see me sing and people dance, and I'm not singing praise worship, obviously.
So fine, go. That is common. So fine, go.
I know that.
We'll come to that one later.
So
I see.
I remember one of my events, my pastor came in and I was singing a song that wasn't praise worship. So I was tempted
That
to
was far from praise worship.
so I was tempted to switch to praise worship. But as at that point of that event, I was doing a secular song for the clients. So, but when my pastor walked to the front, he saw me, he smiled, and then he gave me this. And in my mind, I said,
It's finished. It's over.
honestly,
You are in trouble.
honestly. So transitioning from being a regular church singer to handling events professionally was very challenging in that people expected me to remain in church, which is, I actually understand that. But then, as a Nigerian, there is a survival spirit. And because I did music at Muzon Center, so it is beyond the religion. So I had to make sure I still do business with music, but I'm still traceable to God ethically. So I don't just sing
Just a
vulgar
quick
songs.
digression. After that thumbs up my pastor gave you, I'm sure you must have been called for counseling.
Honestly. First from the music director in church, because when I go to church, Segun worry me. One worry and beacon. But it was beautifully handled, both by my pastor, the music director. We all came to an understanding that, oh yes, Shegun is singing in church, but he still needs to do events.
Shegun is a businessman. Singing for him is business. He's got to make a living, pay bills.
Yes, yes.
What do you think? Where do you think that misconception came from?
Just as I said, when
just 1 second. Some people, I think my producer and director have found something, and they want to confirm whether or not.
Amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Everybody now, shake your body. Oh yeah, shake your body up. Only a daily majuru. This way. Kick it. A daily majuru. Somebody ready? Oh yeah, I get come on. This way.
Okay.
You know something I've noticed about young people? When they're dancing, especially,
Forget it.
you can see that they are enjoying.
Everything else is secondary at that point.
Oh, and that enjoyment that you can see in what they're
It's
doing,
administration.
it gladdens your heart.
Yes, it does.
Watching you now, I say, oh my God, this boy is enjoying this thing so much. Look at his face. Look at his face.
Okay. Well, that can't be taken away from Shegun. But let me ask you something, and I know this is an industry thing.
Okay.
Live performances tend to excuse doing other people's songs, yes?
Yes.
And because one of the fears I have, I mean, as a broadcast practitioner, you're playing somebody else's song, are they gonna come? They're gonna come for you. So how does that work, really? What are the rules guiding that?
Okay, sir. Now, most of us that do events, of course, we're tempted to sing the songs that is trending.
Okay.
Yes, you have a client that wants to dance
to
anyway.
ensure that people
yes, regardless of what you
connect
sing.
with you.
Yeah.
So we're tempted to sing different kind of songs that are trending. Now, unfortunately, most live bands, they've created a brand around singing people's song, which is very, very wrong as far as I'm concerned. So I don't think it is fair that I will pick a song by Sonny Ade. Sonny Ade has labored for years to sing Muleni Kontimuni Temi Kori. Now I can sing that song and earn $1 million, but it is not fair to Sonny Ade because when he was composing and going through hell to put that song together, I wasn't there.
You weren't even born.
I wasn't even born. Yes. So now, aside from me and a few other musicians, what we do is we have our own songs that we sing at events. We might only touch maybe one song that is trending per time. If a song is raining today, I might just paraphrase and just sing it for a few minutes, then go back to my song. That is what I do.
Shegun, imagine going to play at a party and not playing Booga.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to say.
Now.
Now, but unfortunately, Booga will not rain for life. But it's a fantastic song, obviously.
True.
So, but every 3-4 months, there is always a new song anyway.
Yeah.
So I just pick a song that is trending, mix it with my own songs.
So fine, go on.
I know that. So, but I
You're
do.
wondering where that is
What
coming
is
from.
so fine? Go on, please.
DSS will tell you.
Explain that to me, please.
Okay. Because my brand is built around audience engagement.
Okay.
What led to Show Fine Go and several other songs that will engage the client.
Oh, So Fine Go is a song.
Yeah, it's a song amongst a lot of other songs that I do that are my songs for events.
Okay.
So let's assume it's your birthday and you're dancing towards the band and your makeup is beautifully done with a fantastic dress. So it's a simple question. Show fine, go. Everybody responds, oh fine, go. When I say show pretty, go, everybody responds,
Oh, pretty, go. Okay.
Who is going to say
Now-
for pretty?
Oh, and you're busy chopping her food and drinking her drink. Now, Shegun, how did somebody who studied mass comm end up in music?
Okay, so I've always had this passion for being a source of entertainment to people. And I realized that communication is obviously very, very important. So I had an option to either study music or do mass communication. So when that time came, I went to Muzon to do theory of music, but it wasn't satisfactory enough. I knew that the kind of music I wanted to sing, I needed a good command of the language, whatever language I choose. So I just decided to go for mass communication at the State Polytechnic, then Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, when they taught us all those diphthong and triphthong and ooh, ah, eh. So I added that to music, and this is where we are
Alora,
today.
you need to scold him.
Why is he saying that as if he didn't appreciate it?
Honestly, that's the reason why I can even sit here in the first place.
Oi. Hey.
Hey,
Ow.
Sonny Rabo, can you hear him?
And Sydney Ufeli.
Sydney Ofeni, yes. So, how would you describe your experience as a musician? Has it been fulfilling? Do you regret leaving mass comm to go into music?
it has been very, very fulfilling. As a matter of fact, I bless God for studying mass comm in the first place, because if not for mass communication and then the exposure to basic things when it comes to communication, I wouldn't have been able to relate with my clients off stage. Many people say us at events, they don't understand. You need to speak to people before the event anyway. The first time I had the opportunity of stepping into a particular oil company in Nigeria, the man looked at me and he said, I love dealing with educated people. And as at then, I was at ND1. So I was like, this man I don't even have masters. But I had gone to FRC and then, so he made the whole...
Of course, so your diction was
yes.
in order.
And here you are now, yabbing, oi, hey. Eh? All the oohs and ahs, they have helped you. Okay. Now, I like to pay, attention to the season. This is December. You will most likely be a lot busier this month
Yes, that's
than
true.
in previous months. What are those things that are peculiar as a professional musician to this season compared to previous months?
Yes, the first thing is, unlike other months where people have their events on Fridays and Saturdays, sometimes Sundays, for December, people have their parties from Mondays to Sundays. It is amazing, especially some of our family members and friends overseas. They all come back to Nigeria because we know Nigeria is known for Owambe. The way we do parties here, they don't do it this way overseas. So they come back home to party. They can fix their party on Monday, Tuesday, any day. So Decembers are usually very, very locked, honestly, from the 1st of December to the 31st of December.
And from
But you're
your
not complaining, are you?
Of
Because you're
course.
smiling all the way to the back.
waiting.
You're smiling all the way.
When you can have like 3 or 4 events in one day, come on.
Ooh.
Yes. You are not saying you're fine, girl, of course.
So fine. So pretty, go on.
So, but there's something that I'd like you to speak to for the next 5 minutes, and Alero started you out on that. There are many, many people in Nigeria today who want to transit from what they are doing now, where they are now, into their passion, which is music. You have had a tough one, and it takes a lot of courage to take that kind of decision. What would be your recommendation to them?
Well, the first thing I'll tell them is to be true to themselves, not to be carried away by the glamour, to be carried away by the paparazzi.
Not that it's not important.
And yes, you can't give what you don't have. That's the fundamental thing. Be true to yourself. Know truly that you have the talents of music. Then secondly, I advise people, you can't build a brand around copyrights. The reason why we all can talk about Sonny Ade is because his songs are his anyway, if I can use that word. You understand? First thing, make sure you have it. You can't give
what you don't have. Secondly, don't build a brand around copyright, because in 10, 15 years' time, you don't want to be remembered as the guy that can sing people's songs. You want to be remembered, you want something traceable to you. So that's the second thing.
There is one guy like that too.
Yeah. I was just going to say that. That's all he does.
So, and then
and he's known for it.
Yes, yes. And then the last thing I advise people coming up is to understand that I don't want to sound so religious, because Africans are obviously cultural and religious. It is very important to know that God is more important than your talents. There are people that are way, way more talented than you are.
Definitely.
So those three things are very important. First, you need to give what you have. Secondly, if you can't do it differently, then don't do it at all. Don't build a brand around copyrights.
And then there are those, something that important that you said now about talent.
Yes.
Some have mistaken talent for calling. I can sing. I have a good voice. They mistake it for being the lead singer. Meanwhile, their calling or their talent is for back vocaling. Hello, why are you laughing? Am I communicating?
Obviously you are.
So how do you determine that?
Well, to be honest, maybe I can make an example of myself. I was a very, very bad backup vocalist. Not that I intentionally wanted to be bad. I really made a lot of effort to be a good tenor singer. Honestly, there was a particular recording I heard of someone I was singing for, and I felt sorry for him because my voice was so bad. As a backup vocalist, I felt sorry. Boring, but So I'm actually driving to the point that you can easily spot leadership. There is something about leadership that cannot be hidden. So as a singer or as a musician, if you're a leader, people will know. It will show. And if you're called into...
Oh, yeah, that's you. That's you. Can we have that as well?
Yeah.
It seems smooth.
It's a song for Christmas, actually.
Merry Christmas, Christmas Abiago, Christmas Abiago,
Okay, we're gonna have more of that. DSS, don't forget. Not DSS, but DSS. Just so you know. There are different things. There's DSS and there's DSS. So tell you more about that later. There's something I want to ask you before, that was brought in from our director, which is, how do you create a unique sound? Because, it's Owambe, for God's sake.
Yes.
It's all percussions.
Yes.
The same kind of instruments used by almost everybody.
Yes.
Okay. So how do you differentiate the Segun Johnson sound from the Ebenezer Obey sound, the KSA sound? You understand what I'm talking about?
Very, very well.
How do you do it?
Okay.
How do you create your own unique identity in music?
Okay, so what I advise people, which was what I did, I created a style around my strength, which is audience engagement. The same way she was able to identify with Shofar in split seconds. Now imagine me having so many songs of that style. But that style is actually my own strength. So if I'm going to tell musicians to create a style of their own, I would tell them to first think deep. Look at your strength. What is your own strength as a musician? You can build a brand around that and create a style. Coincidentally, I had an event with Ebenezer Obey. It was a birthday, an 80th birthday. So because we had mixed crowd, Ebenezer Obey played first for like 3 hours. Then I was to come up after Ebenezer Obey. Now, after the event, my guys told me, said, we were wondering what you were going to do. And I told them, I didn't wonder what to do because Ebenezer Obey is definitely different and Segun Johnson is different. So creating a style from my strengths is what I would advise others to create a style from your strength that is different and unique. It's the same instrument, the same percussion, but the mannerism with which the songs are delivered, obviously, will distinguish everyone.
So essentially you're saying that yours is a call and response kind of...
Exactly.
Okay.
That's the word. That's the word.
So that's the unique thing about Segun Johnson,
yes.
This thing.
The USP.
The USP. Unique selling point, yeah.
Wow, amazing. I was wondering what USP means.
Come on. Anyway, let me not yab you today. So we have about 30 seconds, and we just have to first of all thank you for being here today.
Yes, you're welcome,
so what are we expecting from you on DSS?
Yes, a lot. Way beyond what we did last year, or way beyond what we did.
It was last year.
Last year.
It was last year. Yeah, it was last year. Way beyond what we did last year. More of my own songs, audience engaged. Just like you said, show fine gone. We'll have lots and lots more songs.
We'll have lots and lots of pretty.
Show pretty.
Okay. Segun Johnson, thank you very much for coming. We look forward to seeing you on DSS.
Yes, we're coming full team.
Not DSS.
Not DSS, but DSS.
DSS, yes. We look forward to seeing you. Thank you very much for coming today. And that's how we close Sunrise for today. Thank you for being with us. We've had very interesting conversations today.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for being part of it. My name is Ilera Edu, wishing you a very happy weekend indeed. See you next week with a fresh edition.
Absolutely. And as you prepare for Christmas, remember all the lessons. We're focusing this month on your health and lifestyle and well-being for a beautiful year ahead. I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful time.
Bye.